part tulip, 2 parts French vanilla. Add 1 whitewash shutter. Mix 1 quart lazy afternoon. Stir in 1 cup sunshine and a pinch of fresh sand. Serves 1 or a family of 6. Swedish Home by Ethan Allen. All the ingredients you need to make an elegantly simple home.
Tonight at 10 p.m. on Fox Wire, militarily, financially, and strategically, how firm is our relationship with Turkey? Rita Cosby with an exclusive interview with Volant HAV.
A foreign land, a simple mission, but something went horribly wrong. Now Fox News goes back to the Somalian battlefield with one of the survivors to expose a government cover-up. The true story of Black Hawk Down, a Fox News Channel special.
We are back, direct from the war zone. I'm John Gibson. There were new warnings issued yesterday by the Justice Department about possible terrorist threats. All this stems from the September 11th attacks and the ongoing war against terror. For the latest from the front lines, we go to Greg Palkot in Islamabad, Pakistan. Hey, Greg.
Hey, John. The Army now officially in control of the U.S. military base at Kandahar Airport in southern Afghanistan. The Marines of the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit have been running the place for the past month. The 101st Airborne Division now in control. When they are fully in place, there'll be about 2,500 soldiers from that division there. Right now, there's about 800 soldiers of the 101st Airborne Division there. Folks there told me that they prepare to operate across a broad spectrum of combat activities in the zone, and they might have to. There are problems with security in the area. Pockets of al-Qaeda and Taliban resistance remain right even close to the perimeter of the airbase. Now up in Kabul, a key route linking the Afghan capital and the northern part of Afghanistan was opened on Saturday. It is called the Salang Tunnel. It's 11,000 feet long. It was cleared of tons of rubble, debris, mines. Russian specialists cleared it. They led the way. They in fact designed and built the tunnel back in the early 80s. Now a convoy of 26 Russian trucks, in fact, were the first folks through that tunnel. Now that that tunnel is open, that should clear the way for a lot of on-the-ground, overland humanitarian runs from Kabul up to northern Afghanistan. The interim Afghan leader Hamid Karzai is on his first foreign trip today and Saturday in Saudi Arabia. He met with the leaders there. Now, Saudi Arabia was one of the few countries which recognized the former Taliban regime in Afghanistan. The discussion of recognition of the new government in Afghanistan, one of the main topics of the meetings. Also, Saudi Arabia perhaps ponying up for some of the reconstruction costs needed in Afghanistan. Now, in Tokyo, Secretary of State Powell has now arrived. Hamid Karzai will be heading there as well. There will be a major donors conference in Tokyo starting on Monday concerning the reconstruction of Afghanistan. 60 governments expected to be participating. As much as $15 billion expected to be needed in the next few years to help rebuild Afghanistan, totally destroyed. Roads, infrastructure, schools, hospitals, all of that needs to be rebuilt. It is hoped that as much as $3 billion might be at least committed by the governments participating in this conference. For its part, the United States in the past week has unfrozen over $200 million, which had been linked to the former Taliban government. That can now be used to pay for a lot of things desperately needed in Afghanistan right now, including the salaries for several 100,000 civil servants who haven't been paid in months and months. John, from Islamabad, back to you.
Greg, I got to ask you about this report that some al-Qaeda guys were picked up inside Pakistan and will be turned over to the U.S., and that they were trying to hide or get away by wearing women's clothing, I presume burqas. You know much about this incident?
This particular incident is just the facts are just emerging right now, but certainly Pakistan, John, is keeping an eye out for any al-Qaeda folks here. They had a major presence along the border. The tribal territory is where a lot of the al-Qaeda people had been infiltrating into. I know from spending a couple of weeks in Tora Bora that was a major exit route. Now, the fear, of course, in the United States is that the focus of Pakistan will be on India as the tensions over the disputed territory of Kashmir is ongoing. The fact that that situation seems to be calming down a little is hopeful for United States officials in their thinking that perhaps Pakistan will remain focused on sorting out some of the remnants of al-Qaeda, which seem to be coming over here into Pakistan on their way perhaps out of the region. So this is a hopeful sign, John, that Pakistan remains a committed partner in this war on terror, John.
You know, before I let you go, I also got to ask you about President Musharraf's, I guess, educated guess that Osama bin Laden might be dead, because Musharraf's information was that he was on kidney dialysis and had taken a couple of dialysis machines into Afghanistan with him. It's got a lot of people talking here. How about there?
Yeah, this is certainly, John, one of the theories. It is known that, in fact, U.S. officials have confirmed this. It is known that Osama bin Laden is in ill health, and certainly his image in that last video message from him, not good. However, even Washington is saying that they don't have any hard intelligence about this. This is President Musharraf's really idea. He claims that he has Pakistan intelligence, recent reports pointing to the fact that perhaps, in fact, that Osama bin Laden has passed away of natural causes. Of course, the other idea is perhaps that he was in a tunnel, in a cave that was bombed by the United States when we had that heavy bombardment of the Tora Bora area in December. So that is just one theory. But even President Musharraf is saying that that is one theory, just like Washington, just like Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld and others are saying. There are many, many different options about the fate right now, the existence right now of Osama bin Laden. But that is certainly one idea, John.
All right, Greg Palkot in Islamabad, Pakistan, right up front row seat. Greg, thanks a lot. Joining us now is former Green Beret Bob Bevilacqua and Lieutenant Colonel Tim Eads, both Fox News military analysts, as we talk about what future dangers we may be facing as we face this war on terror. Major Bob, the New Deal appears to be the Philippines, and the Philippines, a lot of people have a problem with it. Even the mere presence of a few hundred American advisors has stirred up a political storm. Can we really depend, in your view, on governments like the Philippines and armies like the Filipino Army to take care of al-Qaeda in the Philippines or wherever else? Or do we have to do it ourselves?
We definitely need to be involved in it, John. I would tell you that what we're doing is more of a quality assurance, quality control versus a direct engagement. Let's get in there, hunt them out ourselves, and kill these guys. And the way you do that is you use special operations guys to go in there and train, assist, and advise with the local indigenous force. Let them do the dirty work. We will assist them in doing things properly. If we can bring extra things to the table to assist in that process, that's what we'll do. But just to arbitrarily turn it over to all the other countries that have been harboring these guys the whole time, let's admit that up front. No, that's not a good way of doing it. I think the way we're doing it is correct.
Well, Colonel Eads, there's this problem. The Filipino Constitution says the government will not allow foreign troops on its soil fighting its battles. If that's the case, it appears that the political structure there is in kind of a bind. So how do we accomplish what we need to accomplish with these kinds of restrictions?
I guess we work with the words a little, and I think in this operation we're calling it a training exercise. That we're providing some training assistance to these guys. We've reinstituted a training exercise that's gone on for about the last 10 years, and that's the way we're doing. We're going to finesse it a little, but we're going to go back to, hey, we got the biggest boats and we got the biggest guns, and we're going to do what we want to do. It's just a matter of getting it done.
Bob Bevilacqua and Tim Eads, stand by just a second. When we come back from this break, we're going to ask these guys about something that's a little out of their bailiwick, but odd story. A plane being built for the president of China in the United States turns out to have had 27 bugging devices planted in there, evidently to listen to Jiang Zemin, the president of China, who was doing this spying, and how much of an embarrassment is that? It's a developing story, and we'll have more on the War on Terror right after this.
You've all read this. Top Shelf Consultants. $2 million. Pure strategic thinking could put us years ahead. The board is psyched. I'm psyched. It's a brilliant plan. One question. Given our current technology, is this implementable?
No.
No.
No. Strategies you can actually execute?
No.
Now there's a plan.
Still psyched?
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. Yes, it's the saddest experience you ever.
It's all you can eat shrimp. Would you like some more?
Thank you.
All you can eat shrimp now at Red Lobster. Enjoy all your favorites: golden fried, sizzling scampi, and savory shrimp pasta. Just $12.99. Red Lobster. Go overboard.
Welcome back. Direct from the War Zone, I'm John Gibson. Coming up, was the anti-American sentiments found on the Virgin Airways flight headed for Orlando, Florida, a serious threat? This was a threat scrawled on a bathroom mirror in soap. We'll talk about that in a minute, but first we continue with former Green Beret Bob Bevilacqua and Colonel Tim Eads. You guys, it's a little off the subject, but I got to ask you about it because it's a developing story. The United States, at an aircraft manufacturing plant in the United States, a plane was being prepared for the president of China, $160 million plane or something. So I think it's 767, maybe?
767.
767. Well, it turns out once the Chinese get it and they start flying, a whole bunch of little things buried in the walls and the seats start making noises. And they start digging around in there and they find listening devices. And now the plane is on a runway somewhere in China and they're tearing it apart looking for more of them. And this is turning into a bit of a stink. Now, maybe you know something about these sorts of things. Maybe you don't. Major Bevilacqua, does it sound like the United States would be implanting listening devices in the president of China's plane, and that we would do it so badly that they could be found?
Oops, we got caught with our hand in the cookie jar. We spy on other countries. Other countries spy on us. Our embassies are bugged. Their embassies are bugged. There's restaurants in D.C. that are bugged that monitor conversations. In the past 3 years, I've done countermeasure inspections for telecommunication companies in D.C. because they all spy on one another. This is very normal. The government will never admit it. Government agencies will never admit it. This is not anything new. Somebody messed up.
Tim Eads, on the other hand, I mean, it sounds like Major Bevilacqua was right, but there's always the possibility, let me just hold out the possibility, that the Chinese are spying on the Chinese. There might be people in the Chinese government who want to know what President Jiang Zemin is saying. Is this necessarily our getting caught with our hand in the cookie jar?
Not necessarily. I mean, there could be Chinese government spying on Chinese government, some industrial espionage going on. However, I got to tell you, the way it's shaping up, it looks like we did it, okay. And we got caught. So shame on us.
Yeah, shame on us. All right, let me turn your attention back to the War on Terror. One of the things that's going on right now of curious interest is that Hamid Karzai, the head of the new Afghan government, gets on the only plane that still operates in the Afghan national airline, Ariana Airlines, 1 out of 7 that still can fly, and flies off on his first foreign tour. Very first place he goes, Major Bevilacqua, is Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia was one of the few countries in the world, one of 3, I think, that recognized the Taliban. Saudi Arabia is, of course, the home of both Osama bin Laden and 15 of the hijackers. And Saudi Arabia's got a lot of money. What's Karzai up to going to Saudi Arabia first?
Well, John, if we'd have bugged that plane properly, you probably would know. First of all, I'm not in shock. I personally don't trust the Saudis, never have. The fact that there was basically 2 attacks launched on their soil, very close to their soil against us, leads me to believe that they're somehow involved. They're into money laundering for these organizations. They do have a leftist group that's deeply involved in it. Business as usual in the region. This is what we have to deal with. We need to be smart on how we collect our information and who we talk to and who we truly call our allies.
We're looking at Mecca, where the scene of the Hajj, the pilgrimage that every good Muslim should take once in his life to visit the shrine of the Prophet. And that is, of course, in Saudi Arabia. So, Colonel Eads, would we just assume that Mr. Karzai, leading a Muslim nation, needs to go to see the government of the country where Mecca is located, or that it's something more?
I think you're probably closer to the truth than it being something more. I think clearly Saudi Arabia is where the money is. It's it's the Muslim Holy Land. So he was drawn there, whether we like it or not. It makes sense that would have been one of the first stops he made. So right now I don't want to read more into it than has to get read into it, because from a U.S. perspective, especially the American people sitting out there in Peoria, it doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't look good. I mean, I guess that was my underlying point. You would think that the very first visit he would want to make is to the people who liberated him, who actually made it possible for him to be heading a government of something in Afghanistan. It wasn't the Saudis.
Precisely, and you got to remember that the Saudis have been tied to a lot of things that have happened both to the United States and, you could extrapolate and say to the Afghanis, because of their support for bin Laden and the bin Laden family, and on and on and on. So it does not look good at all.
Well, on the other hand, Major Bevilacqua, I mean, Hamid Karzai is a guy who spent a good deal of time in this country, and he's very fluent in English. He's aware of how this country works. He's aware of how the world works. Maybe he figures, I'll pose this as a question, is it possible he figures the Saudis owe him? A lot of the problems with Afghanistan could be traced back to the Saudis and their support for the Taliban and Osama bin Laden and the rest, and maybe it'd be a good idea to go to them and say, hey, pony up, we need a lot of dough.
Oh, if he had the clout to do that, I might agree with you. I don't see where he's in a position to force the Saudis to have to give him anything. However, he is in a good position to ask them for assistance if there is some reason for a relationship to exist. I speak French. I spent a lot of time in Africa, but I know where my allegiances are. My allegiances are to my country right here. However, if I'm going to go live in Africa for 6 months, I'm going to pay my respects.
All right. Major Bob Bevilacqua and Colonel Tim Eads, we appreciate it, you guys. Thanks very much. We'll talk to you again. Coming up, how serious should we take the threat that diverted yet another plane headed for America? It's the Virgin Air plane on the ground in Iceland after somebody found a threat scrawled on a mirror in the bathroom. Is this an overreaction or smart aviation? We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Rick from Empire Glass. Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield and will now pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And will now give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's, the Northwest's #1 family restaurant and bakery, with any windshield replacement. So for the highest in quality windshields, including up to $100 off your comprehensive deductible and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 251-9881. When you think glass, think Empire.
AT&T Broadband keeps you connected with programming, offers, and more. Look what we're bringing you this month.
Experience the E! True Hollywood Story Bon Voyage Sweepstakes, and you could be sailing to an exotic destination. Enter to win a 7-night cruise, complete with round-trip airfare, spending money, and more. To enter, send a 3x5 postcard to the address below. The E! True Hollywood Story Bon Voyage Sweepstakes, sponsored by E! Entertainment Television and AT&T Broadband.
AT&T Broadband. We're keeping you connected.
What can you do at VHIX.com in 30 seconds or less? Find a car by make, find a car by type, find a car by price. Find out if the car you're thinking about buying is a lemon. Get a credit check, get pre-approved, and get ready to buy. Compare vehicles, compare features, compare prices. Get insurance quotes, crash and safety test results, and much, much more. VHIX.com. It's your roadmap to the automotive world.
Seasons change, and so can you. Start changing your body and life with Fitness Made Simple's Fall into Fitness Special. Build the body of your dreams with 2 of our best-selling videos, AM/PM Workouts and the Awesome Hour, Upper Body Home Workout.
AM/PM Workouts has 10 to 15-minute morning and evening home workouts. The Awesome Hour Upper Body Home Workout is my favorite video for sculpting the chest, back, arms, shoulders, and abs.
Get both videos for $29.95, and if you order now, you'll also get this audio tape on the most effective fat loss supplements free. Have your credit card ready and call now.
Throughout the war on terrorism, our military and intelligence officials have made a concerted effort to share appropriate information with the public in order to enlist their assistance. We've asked citizens to be vigilant, to be alert to any possible threat.
Welcome back. Direct from the war zone, I'm John Gibson. Earlier today, Virgin Atlantic Airline was diverted to Iceland due to a bomb threat on board. And yesterday, our government issued new alerts for the public to be vigilant. Joining us now to discuss this is Maurice Sonnenberg, former Vice Chair, National Commission on Terrorism. So, deal with one thing at a time so we don't get into apples and oranges. Here's Virgin Atlantic Airlines flying from Gatwick to Florida, I guess, Orlando, Florida, taking a bunch of Brits to go to Disney World, I guess. And they find in the bathroom, scrawled on the mirror, a message that America's terrible, Americans have to die, Osama bin Laden's a hero, and the pilot diverts to Iceland, lands, and they're checking 340 people on board. Is that the right thing to do? I mean, did that pilot do the right thing, knowing that somebody on that plane took a bar of soap and wrote that message on a mirror?
Oh, yeah, without question. I mean, and actually, that's his judgment call, and neither one of us were on the plane.
It would be an error to go on, to keep going on.
Look, first of all, leave him the judgment. But even if it wasn't his to make, if I were making it, I'd do exactly what he did.
What do you make of this story today? I mean, we're sticking in the airline theme. And the shoe bomber, Richard Reed, who's now, accused and going to stand trial, federal court. A French report that he was conducting an email discussion with somebody the day he missed the plane in Paris, when he was denied access to the plane for the perfectly good reasons that he was buying a one-way ticket with cash, he had no luggage, he looked like he looks in these pictures, and they said, no, you can't go on. And so he got on in a cyber cafe in Paris, got on, emailed somebody and said, what should I do? And the message came back, you get on another plane as quick as you can. Does that sound to you like the obvious, that he has a controller, a boss, who he communicated that day, and that he was actually acting on instructions from somebody?
Not a shadow of doubt. And if you look at how these other people communicated the 19 in the World Trade Center, what do? They went into public libraries, used the computers there. They all had hard drives. I mean, the computer as a method of communication has become the method of choice as opposed to the cell phones. And what happened there is the bin Laden people said, well, they can get into those cell phones, so now they go to encryption and use them. Oh, yeah.
All right, so then if we're connecting the dots, we go to Ashcroft this week, and he releases this tape and these pictures of Al-Qaeda guys doing their suicide tapes. Goodbye to this world, I'm off to paradise to see Allah. And we don't know where these guys are. We know how the 19 operated. We now know how Richard Reed operated. And are we overreacting to assume that those 5 guys are now stealth missiles headed towards us?
Hard to make that judgment.
This is pictures of them, by the way.
All right. The fact is they may or may not be here. But before September 11th, these people, many of them had been seated here. They came into our universities, they were in our businesses, they were all over the country, as well as in various countries. As we know, Al-Qaeda has about 50 to 70,000 members prior to September 11th. Now you start taking those numbers and say, well, how many of those are activists? Maybe couple of thousand. So sure, it's a very logical thing to say some may be here, some aren't here, even now as we're talking. Oh, yeah.
Well, we're further connecting the dots. The FBI issued another warning this week, and it was a non-specific warning, and it was the thought that people like those 5 guys, or people like Richard Reed, or people like the 19 hijackers are accessing the websites of public utilities, looking at power plants, looking at nuclear power plants, electric plants, various other kinds of public utilities, and that Americans should be vigilant because the FBI, in any case, thinks they're at work. They're still coming at us. Is that hypervigilance at work, or does that sound like very reasonable, prudent warning?
Well, it depends on what you mean by a warning in terms of looking. Look, it's logical. They've been doing it for years. They go to the websites and they try to access. There's always within the group of those people a certain amount of computer specialists and people, interestingly enough, who probably were educated here or in England or France, who are quite capable of doing it. So every one of these cells or groups therein communicating will have people who will in fact do that. So when there's an alert put out, what they're saying is, hey, are your firewalls all right? Are you watching those computers? And I think it's fair to say that. Now, that brings us to the next subject of access to the computers by our government, our officials. And the question then is, and has been, how much access and the right should the government have in terms of getting into the sender, the users, and getting those hard drives? As you know, in the Mosseri case in Minnesota, the FBI tried to get a hold of it, and they were turned down by the Justice Department. So we're getting to a question now is, we're in cyber warfare, possibly.
Well, do you think if we picked up a Zacarias Moussaoui today, and knowing what we know post-September 11th, and somebody said, I think he's got something on his hard drive, I want to get in there, do you think the Justice Department would still say, oh, no, you can't, we need probable cause, oh, no, you can't peek in there, or you'd say, you go ahead and we'll figure out how to deal with it later?
Oh, no. Under this U.S. Patriot Act, a lot of this is all changed. Oh, yeah. They have the access now. And in point of fact, it's interesting. You go to a place like England, they're making it the access even easier. I mean, the idea of privacy there is still foreign to us in terms of how far they're willing to go. But, you know, it's the question of national security versus the people who feel that you can't diminish civil rights or rights of individuals. But, you know, we're in a different era now, so that, yeah, they're going to go on into that.
Maurice Sonnenberg, former vice chair of the National Commission on Terrorism, says, heads up, they're still after us. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
That is all the time we have left this evening. I'm John Gibson. Foxwire with Rita Cosby is next with an exclusive interview with the Turkish Prime Minister and the Defense Minister of India. Rita's got a big show. Stay and watch her.
The new 255 horsepower Infiniti i35 with the most powerful engine in its class. Don't blink. More power, more grace, more I. The new i35 from Infiniti.
1 part tulip, 2 parts French vanilla. Add 1 whitewash shutter. Mix 1 quart lazy afternoon. Stir in 1 cup sunshine and a pinch of fresh sand. Serves 1 or a family of 6. Swedish Home by Ethan Allen. All the ingredients you need to make an elegantly simple home.
Your turn to play bad cop?
Nah. Good cop and bad cop left for the day. I'm a different kind of cop.
What's a good cop?
What people want is to make it to their cars without getting mugged.
What's a bad cop?
If some cop roughs up some guy.
Too late, G-Man. So you get some kind of third nag going down there.
It's don't ask, don't tell.
What's justice?
Mac is not a cop. He's Al Capone with a badge.
TV you'll never forget.
To the police!
The Shield, coming this March to FX.
Foxwire with
Rita Cosby, hard-edge investigative reporting, timely and compelling interviews, breaking news from the War on Terror, live as it happens. This weekend, watch the best news coverage on television, period. Foxwire with Rita Cosby, your world up close in focus. Sunday, imprisonment, cruelty, torture, a disturbing and shocking first-hand report from behind enemy lines. This weekend on Fox Magazine with Lori Dew.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Foxwire. I'm Rita Cosby. For the action-packed next hour, we'll bring you the hottest topics and debates of the day. Get ready for the latest buzz on the Foxwire. Coming up tonight, it has borders with Iraq and Iran. How strong a friend is Turkey to the U.S.? We have an exclusive interview with the Prime Minister, the man you see there, with President Bush. And the latest news from the war against terror. And why was the mother of a 6-year-old arrested and jailed on Thanksgiving morning? Her incredible story is coming up. But first, here's the very latest on the collapse of Enron, which promises to dominate the news again this coming week. Arthur Andersen, the auditing firm involved in the Enron scandal, has recovered thousands of records from their computer files, including duplicates of documents that were shredded late last year. The Committee on Oversight and Investigations has scheduled a hearing for this Thursday to look into the destruction of documents by Andersen personnel. For more now, we're joined by Paul Sperry, Washington Bureau Chief for WorldNetDaily.com, and also Robert Weiss, who's a Democratic strategist and also investors' rights attorney. Robert, I want to start with you. You're representing some investors, taking some legal steps. Tell us about those.
I'm focusing on cases against brokerage houses who overconcentrated people in Enron stock, gave them bad advice, largely because of conflicts of interest, where they were getting investment banking fees, underwriting fees, secondary finance fees. They kept their analysts with strong buy ratings during the entire time that the stock was sliding down.
And these are individuals who lost money
These
themselves.
are individuals who are investors in Enron. I mean, it was a train wreck. A lot of people lost everything. People lost their entire retirements. A lot of people believed in the stock so deeply that they overconcentrated their portfolio in the stock, and now they have almost nothing left.
Well, we know that the chairman of Enron was saying, look, it's a great bargain, even just a few months ago. How much did some of these investors lose that you're representing?
They lost several $1,000s. I have one person probably over $1 million. Whatever they had in Enron, they lost. The stock went from $82 a year before the slide to, at one point, it was down to a quarter.
Paul Sperry, obviously, a lot of people lost a lot of money, including those who are being represented by Robert Weiss. Where, in your assessment, did all the problems begin?
Well, it's definitely a tragedy, Rita. I'm still not clear on what exactly Enron and Ken Lay, the chairman, got out of the Bush administration, but it's clear that they got a $3 billion sweetheart deal out of the Clinton administration in the form of a power plant in India. Now, the president, former President Clinton, his chief of staff, Mac McLarty, and his ambassador to India rode herd on this project through to the finalization. They also kicked in $400 million in federal funding for the project. And 4 days before the project was finalized, Enron, lo and behold, gave $100,000 to the Clinton campaign in 1996.
Paul, in your assessment from all your investigation, do you believe that the Clinton administration was sort of payback for doing favors?
It appears that way. Now, Enron denies it, and also the Frank Wisner, the former ambassador to India who helped seal this deal, also denies that there was any funny business going on. He actually ended up with a board seat on an Enron subsidiary.
Well, I'm glad that Paul brought up the Clinton contact, because there's no doubt that there were people in the Clinton administration who were corrupted by Enron. Enron is a corrupting influence on everything they're touched.
In your assessment, did it start there? Because Paul's saying this is where the trail began.
In order to understand Enron, you have to understand the very special relationship between Ken Lay, who is the director of Enron and really the one who founded the company, and as well as George W. Bush. Now, George W. Bush really lied to the American people when he said he first met Ken Lay in 1994, and Ken Lay was supporting Ann Richards. The fact is that Ken Lay was his biggest contributor throughout all his campaigns. He met Ken Lay in 1992. He was served on Economic Council with Ken Lay. So in order to really understand Enron, you have to understand the special relationship that Ken Lay had with Bush and the Bush administration.
But also with Democrats, too, because
there's no doubt. Oh, no. Rita, you're 100% right. The Democrats are complicit in it. That's why I call for a special prosecutor in the deal. I don't think the Democratic-controlled Senate, which took a lot of money from Enron, and Paul's not wrong. Of course the Democrats took money from Enron. Enron corrupted the entire political process. But in fact, if the Republicans are going to try to blame Clinton for this entire thing, they're really going to miss the point, and I think they're really going to hurt themselves in the long run, because the overall arching issues here are, in essence, break against the Democrats. The first issue is deregulation. Enron started by deregulating electrical, trading, as well as deregulating the accounting, which allowed this to happen. Deregulation is a big conservative issue.
And indeed, it definitely is a big issue. But the question is, I guess, Paul, in response to what Robert is saying, do you think that the Republicans can make any hay out of this issue? Do you think the Democrats can make any hay, which they seem to be trying?
Well, it's not my job to defend the president, or I'm trying to just get out. There really is that there's been one side of the story told, the cronyism with the Bush administration in Enron, but the other side of the story, the full story, which is what we need to report, actually the cronyism stretches back to the Clinton administration, and it's actually worse during the Clinton administration. Ken Lay really was an equal opportunity. He was an equal opportunity crony.
Yeah, there's no doubt that Ken Lay was guilty on both sides. But you have to realize something. During the Clinton administration, there was a tremendous amount of energy that was put into saying that Clinton was immoral. They took a minor sex scandal, they blew it up into impeaching a very popular president of the United States. When people said this is ridiculous, it's not the sex, it's the lying. So that George Bush took the moral high ground. George Bush lied to the American people. He lied like a rug regarding his relationship with Ken Lay, and now you see the actual videotape of what happened. He lied regarding his relationship with Ken Lay.
If I could jump in, Rita.
Let me just finish. The Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, lied about how many times he met with Enron. Ari Fleischer lied when he said that nobody in the administration had any contacts with Enron, discussed the finances, or made a phone call.
What tangible fruit did
Paul, did the administration
What?
maybe not be as forthright as it should have been? Are there any mistakes made by this administration in this?
Well, the comment about when President Bush had a relationship with Ken Lay was a bit misleading, to say the least.
That's a euphemism. It's a lie, Paul. It's the same thing. It's sort of like saying,
continue?
well...
Yeah, go ahead, Paul,
Senator, please stop filibustering. What I wanted to say was that this Indian deal is actually a tangible fruit that Ken Lay and Enron got out of the Clinton administration. Helping write the energy policy, it didn't become law, did it, Robert?
We don't know.
Did it actually become law?
The reason we don't know, Paul,
but that's not
is
a tangible fruit.
No, the answer to your question, I'll answer your question. We don't know because we don't know exactly what happened at those meetings, despite the fact that Henry Waxman asked for the minutes of the meetings and the notes of the meetings. He was never given the minutes of the meetings, and he still has not been given the minutes of the meetings. So we don't know exactly what. Well, it may have become a regulation that has the force of law. We don't know what went on in those meetings.
We do know about the $3 billion Indian power plant.
Paul does bring up a good point in the sense that there was nothing given in terms of what we've seen so far by the Bush administration. They could have stepped in and they didn't.
If I could just address that, it's a good point that Paul makes and you make.
We do know about the $3 billion Indian deal.
The fact at the Energy Task Force, Dick Cheney met 6 times in secret with Enron personnel. And we don't know exactly what went into these meetings. We don't have the notes, the memorandum of the meetings. They've been subpoenaed by Henry Waxman. Dick Cheney did not comply with the subpoena. So we have a lot of covering up here. And in fact, this administration, which came in here saying they're going to bring honor and decency back to the White House, is acting worse than the Clinton administration on their worst day.
Paul, you got to respond to that one. Come on. You open the door.
Back to the $3 billion Indian power plant sweetheart deal. The problem with that is, here's the irony in it, and it's really a tragic irony, is it became a $3 billion boondoggle. The local state Indian officials refused to pay Enron for the power they were generating out of that plant last year, and it hurt Enron's bottom line. It accelerated their collapse. It hurt shareholders, and it may hurt taxpayers because we're gonna be in holding the bag for the $400 million in loans from the federal financing agencies that the Clinton administration got to back the project.
And is it your sense, Paul, that this was sort of the beginning of the stumbling block, that this sort of started the whole trail?
Yeah, well, it was one of the factors that was really a pressure point on the stock. It was also something that you know they were putting all this money. They had over $1 billion invested in net equity, Enron, in this project. They couldn't get paid for it. In fact, Bill Clinton went and lobbied on behalf of Enron during the Bush administration to try and get the Indian officials near Bombay to actually pay for the power that this Enron project was generating. And remember when he went to India back in April of last year, after he was president?
We remember those pictures well.
That's one of the things he was doing. He was still lobbying for this project for Enron.
Well, Paul, hang tight because we're going to have, I'm sure Robert is going to respond. He's just chomping at the bit to respond to that. We're going to have to do that right after the break. Our debate will continue, and then find out what the Turkish Prime Minister has to say about his country's neighbor, the thorn in our side, Iraq. What's his advice for the U.S. when it comes to dealing with Saddam? That exclusive interview is also coming up.
Is 106 cubic feet of interior space really necessary? As a matter of fact, it is. Avalon, the most spacious sedan we've ever created.
Thinking about Viagra? It's now available in a free 6-pill sample pack.
6? That's my number.
So get in the driver's seat and ask about the free Viagra sample pack.
Get to your doctor for a checkup and find out if a free sample of Viagra is right for you.
For more information, race over to Viagra.com.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
He tamed a government out of control.
That I will faithfully execute the office.
He mourned with a nation.
So help me God.
He became the defender of freedom.
This great nation will never be intimidated.
Join Fox News Channel for a look back at George W. Bush, a year in the White House.
Taxpayer money needs to be invested in an investigation of criminal wrongdoing, and that's why the President's Department of Justice is reviewing whether or not anybody at Enron or anywhere else engaged in criminal activity. That is a wise, good use of taxpayer money, and the President is dedicated to it.
Welcome back to Fox Wire. I'm Rita Cosby. Yesterday, Ari Fleischer, the White House press secretary, told reporters that the Justice Department plans to investigate any wrongdoing with Enron. Our Enron debate now continues with Paul Sperry and also Robert Weiss. Robert, I want to ask you a point you brought up before about who can investigate. The White House is saying that the Justice Department can do a full and fair investigation. Do you agree?
No, obviously it can't. Not only is the head of the Justice Department, Ashcroft, conflicted out, and his chief of staff conflicted out.
Larry Thompson you're referring to?
Yes. No, I'm referring to his chief of staff. Larry Thompson is another attorney. I believe he should be conflicted out. Larry Thompson has not recused himself. I believe that he should recuse himself.
That's why I want to ask you, because he had some dealings. He worked at a firm where there was some Enron ties.
Yes, he worked in a firm that represented Enron. And also, the entire Houston, United States Attorney's Office, all those prosecutors, they had to recuse themselves, and the investigation is going to be based in Houston.
So what are you proposing?
Well, a special prosecutor needs to be, this calls out for a special prosecutor more than anything the Clintons ever did.
Paul Berry, is it screaming for a special prosecutor? Paul, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm thinking.
A trick question.
With Ashcroft having to recuse himself, I think it begs for one, quite frankly. But something else that Robert left out is the fact that Ken Lay and Enron executives went on at least 11 trade junkets during the Clinton years. Hold on. How many did they go on during the Bush?
There's only been one trade junket to Russia, and they were off of it. There's only been one junket.
There you go.
But the point is that if you look at the ties to the Bush administration, you're looking at Karl Rove, who had over $100,000 worth of stock. You're looking at Larry Lindsay, who also took $50,000 as a lobbyist for Enron. Mark Roscoe, who's the head of the RNC, is a lobbyist for Enron. The ties are closer to the Bush administration. But let's talk about the politics a little bit. Let's talk about the politics. Let's talk about these big Republican issues. Deregulation. Now, one of the things that the Republicans were pushing was deregulation of the accounting industry. That's one of the problems that we have here. The accounting industry was deregulated, and as a result of it, they were corrupted, and they were very vulnerable to corruption. Another thing is deregulation of the energy. I don't know if you remember this, Paul, but during the summer, the biggest story before the war was California's energy crisis. Enron was a big player in California's energy crisis. Governor Bush, George Bush, the one who didn't know him until 1994, was calling governors all over the country, including Tom Ridge, governor of Pennsylvania, including Mark Roscoe, governor of Montana, including the former governor whose name I now forget, of California, who was the Republican, I think it's Pete Wilson. This kind of deregulation is a big issue. This is going to cut directly against the Democrats, or against the Republicans. Another thing is also taxes. Did you know, Paul, that Enron did not pay taxes in 4 out of 5 years?
I'm not defending Enron.
I don't think anyone wants to at this point.
No.
Hey, what do you think is going to happen, Paul, when the dust settles? I mean, we're seeing, obviously, we're going to see a lot of finger pointing this week with some congressional hearings kicking off. Do you think we may even see some indictments eventually?
One thing in congressional investigations they need to look into, I called the Export-Import Bank on Friday to get just what our government exposure and taxpayers' exposure is to all these loans that were given to Enron during the 1990s, during the Clinton years, what that is. It's double the defense budget. So
it's huge. You're right about that.
That's huge, and they didn't get any.
It's very similar.
If I could finish, Robert. Bush actually proposed slashing in his budget funding for the Export-Import Bank and OPIC, which Enron benefited famously from during the Clinton years.
So, Paul, do you think we're going to see a change in regulations? I just want to hear real briefly from you, Paul, and then from Robert on this. Do you think we're going to see change of regulations, a big way that business will be changed in the future as a result of this devastating blow? Paul?
A change in regulations?
Yeah, change in regulation. I mean, we're talking even Chuck Grassley, talking about tax relief legislation, number of different legislations passed.
Oh, sure. We'll see. Unfortunately, we'll see. This is going to cause some more laws that are perhaps going to be onerous down the road because of what happened. But it's really incumbent upon Enron in its auditing to have been honest with their shareholders, which it appears they weren't. But we'll see. And
Robert, real briefly, obviously, much of the focus is on the financial fallout. Will there also be a big, tremendous political fallout? We're seeing it already, but in the end...
There'll be a huge political fallout. Campaign finance reform will almost certainly have to be enacted in some form. This whole move toward deregulation is going to lose a lot of its steam. I believe that the Republicans are very vulnerable on this larger, cultural issue, the culture war issue, as to whether or not they really brought honor and decency back to the White House.
There's going to be a lot of questions, and I'm sure a lot of fireworks at this week's hearing. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Robert Weiss, also Paul Sperry, thank you very much, and I'm sure we will be talking about this one for a long time. And again, hearings are slated for this Thursday in Washington. And coming up next, FoxWire's exclusive interview with the Prime Minister of Turkey. Is that country America's friend or foe? And first, here's a preview from Brit Hume and Fox News Sunday.
This week on Fox News Sunday, the world's trouble spots, murder in the Middle East, strife between nuclear powers India and Pakistan, and the hunt for Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan and beyond. We'll discuss these issues and more with Secretary of State Colin Powell. President Bush names a council on bioethics to study human cloning and other tough issues, and the controversial Supreme Court ruling on abortion, Roe versus Wade, marks another anniversary. We'll discuss medicine, politics, and religion with Theodore Cardinal McCarrick, Archbishop of Washington. Plus, our all-star panel, Bill Kristol, C.C. Connolly, Paul Gigot, and Juan Williams, this week on Fox News Sunday.
All right, thanks, Britta, and check your local listings for Fox News Sunday, and we'll have more of FoxWire when we return.
do they see through the stockings?
How do they see through the stockings? They're sheer.
Right.
But you're missing the point of the story. The woman's car is commandeered, stranding her miles from the nearest FedEx location.
She's toast?
No. Directly across the street, her salvation.
Directly across the street?
Technically, it was kitty corner, but stay with me. Is it a mirage?
I don't know.
Is it a miracle?
Yes.
No. It is one of thousands of FedEx Express drop boxes strategically located at post office locations coast to coast.
Keeping the engines of commerce
well lubed. Precisely.
This year's resolution? To stay in touch with the Compaq Presario 5000T PC. It comes with a powerful Intel Pentium 4 processor, a free scanner, and a whopping 512 megabytes of memory. More than enough to scan in all your photos and share them with everyone you'd like. It's just $8.99. So get started on that resolution not to procrastinate. Hurry and call 1-800-332-1780 to get yours now.
Between a race car and a road car, there's a Roush car. You've seen it in the magazines. The supercharged 4.6-liter V8, 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. But the only place in the Portland area you can get the performance of a Roush Stage 3 Mustang is here in Tigard at Landmark Ford, Portland's exclusive Roush Performance dealership. See them today at Landmark and get a Roush. Or get this.
Hi, Emma Platt here at City Liquidators Furniture Warehouse, your leather connection. Try this retro sofa for $9.99, or mint green sofa, $9.99. Or what about a leather chair, $1.99. Or this motion sofa, $9.99. Or our best deal of all, this Benchcraft 4-piece set, $18.88.
Be sure to check out our huge selection of office furniture, like this oak computer desk and hutch for $148, or this 4-piece computer desk for $248.
City Liquidators saves you money!
Welcome back to Fox Wire. I'm Rita Cosby. This mother was arrested and thrown in jail for 7 days. She will tell us why. But first, the Prime Minister of Turkey sat down with me for an exclusive Fox Wire interview. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure.
It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you very much.
You met with President Bush during your visit here. What were your impressions of him?
Well, he is a very courageous, politically a very courageous person, and we need such courageous persons to deal with the urgent problems, not only of the United States, but of the whole world.
During your visit here to the United States, you offered to have Turkey lead peacekeeping efforts in Afghanistan.
That's right.
Why do you think Turkey should play that role?
Well, geopolitically, Afghanistan is a very important country. And it should preserve its independence. That's very important. And we had historic ties with Afghanistan as a nation. Even during our war of liberation in early 20s, Atatürk, the leader of the nation, sent some best trained staff officers to Afghanistan to help them train their own forces. Even during the Taliban regime, we tried to do something for the Afghan people, not the regime, but the people, by establishing schools and the hospital and waterworks, hydraulic works, etc. So we always gave great importance to it. The primary problem in Afghanistan is that it does not have a national army. It is armies competing with each other. And the Taliban, which is a very weak organization, took advantage of the rivalries between different groups to get control of the whole country. Therefore, we believe that the primary task is to establish or help the Afghans to establish a national army, a united army.
I understand that 261 Turkish troops will be heading there to Afghanistan shortly. What will they do?
They will undertake the security requirements in the country at the moment.
And do you project that there will be many more if you are allowed for peacekeeping? Certainly a grander force will be needed.
I don't think many more will be needed. Some more may be needed, but not very much, because after all, the war in Afghanistan is virtually ended. So it was not going to be a war continuing, but just security measures.
Should the United States attack Iraq as its next target in the war on terror?
Well, I hope that other means of dealing with the regime there should be found out. We wouldn't want a military operation take place just across our borders that would destroy all our economy and create immense problems for Turkey internally and externally, and for the whole region, which is a very sensitive region. In any case, we provide a lot of possibilities to the United States with regard to seeing to it that Iraq is not armed excessively. American aircraft use a Turkish base for that purpose. To go beyond that would create great problems for us, for Turkey and for the whole region.
Some members of Congress from the United States came back after meeting with you and a number of others, and they interpreted it, including Congressman Chris Shays, that you gave them sort of a cautious green light to go ahead with attacking Iraq. Is that right, or is that a misinterpretation?
No, we don't think that military force can solve any problem in the region. A diplomatic, political, economic means would be more helpful.
There are some critics who say we've tried all that and that hasn't worked.
No, but it works. After all, for instance, Iraq, the Iraqi regime has no authority over a large part of the land of the country, in the northern part, possibly, for instance. Iraq cannot compete with any other country, cannot invade any other country anymore. We provide all the facilities across our borders to help the United States see to it that the Iraqi military potential is not used against other countries. So we believe that the present arrangement could go on for some time until other possibilities emerge.
What other possibilities do you see happening?
Time will show that.
Do you think we, the United States, and our allies need to go after Saddam Hussein, though, in some shape or form?
Well, for us, it's not the name of personality. In certain regimes, one personality may go, another may come to its place with the same mentality. There is no guarantee that a better regime will be established. But we should see to it that Iraq does not pose a threat to the countries of the region.
Do you think that we have to do something to contain Saddam Hussein eventually?
Well, as I have expressed my views on that, after all, the United States has not yet come out with concrete means. Obviously, it's an intricate and difficult problem, and I understand there are different views within the administration of the United States. So we should show a little patience.
Are you concerned about a Kurdish uprising in your country if we do attack Iraq?
Not Kurdish uprising. Actually, the Kurdish people never uprose in Turkey. Only a separatist organization tried to do that. But it would lead to the partitioning of Iraq, or problem, or it would create immense economic problems for Turkey.
The economic sanctions that have been imposed on Iraq, have they hurt your country in terms of trade?
Very much so. Since the Gulf War, we lost at least about $50 billion because we had very lucrative commercial relations, not only with Iraq, but several other Middle Eastern countries.
Are you pushing to have the sanctions lifted on Iraq?
Not necessarily, but certainly they should soften. In any case, some countries keep violating them.
Is there any sense that we may lift sanctions on Iraq?
I don't know.
Are you getting any positive feedback that way?
No, we haven't discussed those details with President Bush.
Do you hope to do that?
Well, the President Bush and the administration have promised that before they take any decision with regard to Iraq, they would consult with us. And we would deeply appreciate that because we are neighbors with Iraq. Any step taken there would have certain impacts for Turkey.
How big of a problem is terrorism? Even in your country, you have the PKK.
Not only the PKK, but communist organizations, fundamentalist organizations. We have suffered a great deal on those accounts during the last 15 or 20 years. And the virtual partitioning of Iraq has facilitated the PKK to penetrate Turkey easily. So there was no uprising from the people, but there was terrorism imported from northern Iraq to Turkey.
How difficult is it to control terrorism, even in your own country?
The problem is that it is necessary to fight terrorism without deviating from democracy. And we have been able to do that. We have taken various...
And that, of course, was Turkey's Prime Minister. The Indian Defense Minister is coming up when Fox Wire continues.
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. Yes, it's the saddest experience you ever.
It's all you can eat shrimp. Would you like some more?
Thank you.
All-you-can-eat shrimp, now at Red Lobster. Enjoy all your favorites, golden fried, sizzling scampi, and savory shrimp pasta, just $12.99. Red Lobster, go overboard.
People ask my twin brother Jason and me what the whole tobacco issue means to us personally. So we tell them, it's just killing our family. And I don't mean that they're all dying. It's just that the ones that have really meant everything to my family and me. It's the pain they leave behind. When you die from tobacco, you're not the only one that suffers.
A foreign land, a simple mission, but something went horribly wrong. Now Fox News goes back to the Somalian battlefield with one of the survivors to expose a government cover-up. The true story of Black Hawk Down, a Fox News Channel special.
Could diffusing the India-Pakistan conflict end up backfiring on the U.S.? The inside line from special guest Colin Powell on Fox News Sunday. Check your local listings.
Welcome back to Fox Wire. I'm Rita Cosby. Coming up, the Defense Minister of India will tell us how serious his country is about their nuclear arsenal. But first, let's get the latest on the war on terror. Let's go to Greg Palkot, who is live in Islamabad, Pakistan. Greg.
Hi, Rita. As the war on terror continues inside Afghanistan and all around the globe, the efforts to reconstruct that terribly battered country of Afghanistan ratcheting up into high gear. The interim leader of Afghanistan, Hamid Karzai, spent the day Saturday in Saudi Arabia talking to leaders there. Saudi Arabia, of course, one of only 3 countries which had recognized the former Taliban regime in Afghanistan. One of the topics of discussion, recognition of the new government in Afghanistan by Saudi Arabia. Also, whether Saudi Arabia can come up with the funds to help rebuild that battered country of Afghanistan. Karzai, the Saudis, and representatives of 60 countries now going on to Tokyo, where they'll be joined by Secretary of State Colin Powell, now in Tokyo for a very important donors conference on Afghanistan there. It is estimated that at least $15 billion is needed over the next several years to reconstruct the country, to rebuild roads, the infrastructure, schools, hospitals. It is hoped, this might be a little bit of wishful thinking, but it is hoped that pledges of as much as $5 billion could come out of this meeting in Tokyo on Monday and Tuesday. Secretary of State Powell, of course, wrapping up visits to this region. He met with leaders here in Islamabad as well as New Delhi, trying to cool the tensions between India and Pakistan over the disputed territory of Kashmir. He departed the region saying he was encouraged both that Pakistan was committed in cracking down on Islamic militants operating in Kashmir, and also that India recognized that Pakistan was cracking down. However, there are something like 1 million Indian and Pakistan soldiers on the common border between those two countries, and Friday and overnight Friday to Saturday, we saw another shooting incident between these two groups of soldiers. Finally, back in Afghanistan, the U.S. Army now completely in charge of the military base at the Kandahar airport in southern Afghanistan. That is the 101st Airborne Division. There's something like 800 soldiers of the Airborne Division there right now, and when they are totally there, it could number as many as 2,500. They will be operating across a spectrum, a broad range of combat activities, very necessary in that very, very insecure still area of Afghanistan. The Marines will be departing back to their ships, some of them at least, for some well-deserved leave. That's the latest from Islamabad. Back to you, Rita.
They certainly deserve that leave. Thank you very much, Greg. We appreciate it. And we continue now with more on the war against terror with Major General Paul Vallely. General, always great to have you on. How are you doing tonight?
Thanks, Rita. It's been snowing down here all day.
Well, you brought a little snow up this way, too, when I came up to New York. So, hey, there's so many different stories we're hearing now. Yeah. Pakistan President Musharraf is saying that bin Laden may have died, may have had kidney failure. U.S. officials that I've talked with, even as recently as a few hours ago, say that they believe they even have some intelligence pointing that he is alive and at least doing okay, probably on the Afghan-Pakistani border. What are you hearing? What do you suspect?
Well, the same thing, you know. It hasn't changed from week to week here. We hear he's alive and he's in the border area, or he's in Pakistan, or he's on a slow boat to Somalia. So we still don't know. But, I mean, there's a high probability, Rita, that he is dead because there hasn't been any intelligence that we know of so far that's indicated that he is alive and has moved to another area. So there's a good probability he may be dead.
Now, U.S. officials are telling me that it's more likely that he's alive. They said they're getting some intelligence sightings, and in fact, one of the things I'm hearing is that maybe some human intelligence sightings. But then, as you point out, you know, you get so many mixed messages from individuals on the ground, and can we trust those reports?
Well, it's hard to tell where the reports are coming from, if they're coming from the Pakistan area or the Tora Bora area or Kandahar. Who's feeding the information? How credible is it? But again, we don't need to be fixated on bin Laden at this point in time. If we wrap him up, find him somewhere, fine. If he's dead, that's fine as well. But we've got to keep focused on the mission here, and that's to continue to find the remnants of al-Qaeda, not only in Afghanistan, but also in the other areas of the world.
You talk about al-Qaeda. There have been some reports that some members may be crossing over into Iran and then regrouping and possibly coming back into Afghanistan. Do you believe these reports, and what do you make of maybe some collusion with Iran then?
Well, I believe the reports on the cross-border operations of the al-Qaeda going back and forth, regrouping. They probably have some sympathizers over there in that area of Iran, just as they have in the Peshawar, western Pakistan, northwestern Pakistan area. So that's why it's going to take a while for the multinational force, the international peacekeepers that we have in there now, along with our 101st Airborne. And that's why the 101st is there, my old outfit, really to clean up the rest of the battlefield now.
And they're in charge now. They're in charge of Kandahar now.
That's exactly right, yes. And they'll close in there with a modified brigade, and they're the ones who are going to continue the search and destroy missions out there to mop up the rest of al-Qaeda and any Taliban that's there causing problems.
Now, we just have a little bit of time. I'm going to switch gears because I think this is very fascinating. There's a report that a plane belonging to the president of China, it was a plane that was made by the United States, retrofitted by a company in Texas, found to have 20 listening devices in it. What do you make of all this, and what does that say about U.S.-China relations?
Well, it's another one of these spy games. We went through that last year, didn't we, when the EP-3 went down. I would doubt if our contractors would be involved in that because the cost and the revenues that are generated from our airplane sales and refits are quite high. You know, we've provided 747s and a lot of aircraft to China for their economic development. It could be just an element within China that somehow got into those aircraft after they were delivered. But I doubt seriously if any of our contractors were involved in that.
Well,
it's too high a risk for them.
Well, I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about it. General Paul Vallely, thank you. Take care of the snow there, okay?
Okay, Rita. Thank you very much.
All right, and up next, the Indian Defense Minister talks to us about whether war may be around the corner with Pakistan or is a peaceful resolution in sight. We'll find out. And later, this mother of a 6-year-old will tell us what it was like spending 7 days in jail. We'll hear her remarkable story.
Camry. One look, and you're gonna want one.
No time for a splitting headache. I needed strong pain relief fast. So I took control with Advil Liquid Gels, liquid-filled capsules that relieve tough pain faster than Tylenol. And nothing, not Excedrin, not Aleve, nothing's proven stronger on pain than Advil Liquid Gels. My headache was gone, fast.
You have the strength to get rid of pain fast. Take control. Take Advil. And to help you take control of your child's fever fast, there's Children's Advil and Infant's Advil.
Breast cancer does happen to young women. At the Young Survival Coalition, we're fighting to save women's lives through awareness, advocacy, and action. For more information about our efforts and how you can help, check our website, www.youngsurvival.org.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I
I
am
An American.
I am an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I'm an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
What we would like to do in the future is to stabilize and restrain the nuclear arms race. We can't do it alone. Obviously, it takes two to make a race. Pakistan has offered several proposals to India in terms of nuclear restraint and a strategic restraint regime, as we call it. We would like India to return to the negotiating table and talk to us about how to make the region safe, how to have security in the region, and how to also resolve the outstanding disputes between the two countries.
Welcome back to Foxwire. I'm Rita Cosby. That was Pakistan's ambassador to the United States, Dr. Maliha Lodi, from an upcoming interview with Fox News foreign affairs analyst Mansoor Ijaz. But India paints a very different picture. Here's what the Indian Defense Minister had to say today about the conflict between the two countries.
Secretary Powell, when he left the region, was very optimistic that there could be a peaceful solution between your country and also Pakistan. Are you equally encouraged?
Well, all of us have been wanting a peaceful solution, and that's why, despite having sent our troops right up to the front lines, we got into seeking diplomatic ways of resolving this problem. And the actual answer to that question is yet to come, for the simple reason that the two demands that we had made in the aftermath of 13th December, namely that cross-border terrorism be ended by Pakistan, and second, we had given them names of 20 people who were involved in serious offenses, terrorist activities, that these people should be surrendered to India. These two demands are yet to be fulfilled. So therefore, it's one thing to feel optimistic for the reason that diplomatic efforts are on. But it is another thing to see that General Musharraf delivers.
Now, General Musharraf made a very strong speech recently where he said he will call for a crackdown on terrorism. How did you react to that speech? Were you pleased with it?
The mere words of there will be a crackdown doesn't take us anywhere. We are facing trans-border terrorism on a daily basis. Nothing has changed. He made that speech on the 12th of this month. But in terms of delivering, there hasn't been anything.
Today, he is turning over 7 members of al-Qaeda to the United States. Is that a step in the right direction?
Well, if he's turning 7 members of the al-Qaeda to the United States, then he should hand over 20 of those thugs that we have named to us.
There have been some people who have suggested, with both of your troops lined up against the border, thousands upon thousands of troops lined up on both sides, that maybe as a gesture of good faith, India should maybe move its troops back, say, 2 miles, and then in turn the pressure would be put on Pakistan to do the same. Is that something you would consider?
Well, withdrawal of the troops, as I have repeatedly said, will depend on Pakistan stopping cross-border terrorism. Because we withdraw our troops. You continue to be where you are and you keep on the fire at one end. Secondly, you enable these terrorists from your territory, even today, to move into our territory. Now, what's the purpose of this kind of an argument that is being thrown at us, that you withdraw your troops, you take them behind the front lines, but we moved them there because of what happened on the 13th of December when...
But couldn't that be a move, sort of a sign of good faith, and then there would be so much maybe international pressure on Pakistan to do the same?
Yeah, but good faith has to be a two-way traffic. Good faith only from us. We have had so much of good faith, and we have had so much of shaking of hands with them. Our Prime Minister went by a bus all the way to Lahore to tell Pakistan that we want to have peace. Let us sit down and settle. And in return, what we got was a Kargil war.
There have been some strong comments coming from both sides, including some high-ranking officials from India, who have said that if nuclear weapons were used or even hinted at being used by Pakistan, that India would come back twice-fold because you have more nuclear weapons than they do. Doesn't this kind of rhetoric inflame things? And do you see a situation where nuclear weapons may have to be used?
No, I don't see such a situation because India's nuclear policy is very clear. We have said no first strike ever. We shall never be the first to use a nuclear weapon. And as far as Pakistan is concerned, I want to believe that Pakistan has a responsible leadership. Pakistan has today a military person who has donned the robes of the president of the country. And I want to believe that he's a responsible person.
One concern the United States has is because Pakistan is spending and sending so many troops to the border of your country and its country, that these borders between Afghanistan and Pakistan are very porous, that al-Qaeda members may be coming in, Taliban members may be coming through. Do you believe that those borders are now very open?
Well, ultimately, if they come in, we will be the ones who will have to suffer. Because as far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan has had alliance with al-Qaeda. And so we will be the sufferers. So it hurts us ultimately.
All right, Defense Minister George Fernandez of India, we thank you very much for being with us. And coming up next, Anna Mae Leach's terrifying story of her holiday arrest and incarceration when FoxWire continues. Stay tuned and remember to check your local listings for Fox News Sunday.
David Lee Miller. Greg Palcott.
Amy Kellogg.
William Larson. Steve Harrigan. Fox News International.
Pizza Talk with Doug and Tim. How big is Round Table's Big Vinny Pizza? Let's go to the Mondo Meter.
Mondo Meter. According to the Mondo Meter, one Big Vinny equals 4 cheeseburgers, plus 6 drumsticks, plus 5 tacos, plus 12 nuggets.
Oh, Mondo happy. I had no idea Mondo could talk.
Get a Big Vinny and feed a small army for just $10.99. Only at Round Table.
Let City Liquidators help you get organized for your home or office.
Check out this computer armoire, $6.99. How about an oak computer desk and hutch, $148. This beautiful 6-piece Mission computer corner, $13.99. Don't miss our huge selection of bookcases. Or this computer desk and hutch, $248. Maple computer table and hutch, $299. 3-piece computer desk, $399. 4-piece computer corner, $248. Or this executive desk, $147.
City Liquidators saves you money!
As one of the largest Ford dealers in the nation, most people think about us when they need a new car. But the fact is, Landmark Ford is also one of Oregon's largest used car stores. In fact, right now, because 0% interest has meant record sales, Landmark's 13-acre campus is literally overflowing with trade-ins. So we've put them all on sale, most at far below actual Kelley Blue Book price. Come see us at Landmark Ford in Tigard. We're just off 55 at the Haines Street exit.
AT&T Broadband.
Pay-per-view.
Somewhere out there, your team is taking the court,
And you can be there, coast to coast. Now, Sports in Demand brings your team home. With NBA League Pass on digital cable, you can choose from up to 40 out-of-market games a week. See for yourself from January 14th through the 20th with a free preview of NBA League Pass. Catch great NBA action from around the league absolutely free.
Watch the preview, order the package. NBA League Pass on in-demand pay-per-view.
Welcome back to Foxwire. I'm Rita Cosby. Last Thanksgiving, Anna Mae Leach didn't spend the holiday cooking and eating with her family. She spent it in jail. The problem was she didn't know why she was arrested. After 7 days behind bars, she finally found out her crime. Believe it or not, failing to return rented videos in 1989. The charges against Leach were eventually dropped, but she wants to be compensated for those 7 days that she spent in jail away from her 6-year-old daughter. Joining us now from Pittsburgh is Anna Mae Leach and her attorney, J. Kevin Kehoe. Thank you, both of you, for being with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Rita.
Anna Mae, this is just an amazing story. I mean, a lot of us, when we first heard the story, were just shaking our heads. This is incredible. And it all started with a fender bender accident right on November 20th. Tell us what happened there.
I had backed out of my driveway and was waiting for my garage to close, and my neighbor backed out of hers and didn't see me and hit into the front of my car.
And then what happened? The next day, I understand 2 constables show up at a gas station where you work, and what did they say to you?
They told me they had a warrant for my arrest.
And did they explain anything else to you? Did they say why?
All it said and all they told me is it was theft of leased property. That was all I knew.
And did you ask what property they're talking about?
Yes, I did, and they told me that was all that they knew.
And that is because of this fender bender. They did what, a search, I assume, and said, look, and see if there's anything in her background or a name that matches?
I think that from the driver's license number.
And then, so you were then taken to jail?
They told me if I was to go with them, it would be about 3 or 4 hours, and I could call my parents. They could come get me. I would be in front of a night court judge, and then I would be able to go.
And then what happened? Did you do that? Did you make those calls?
I had gotten hold of my parents. They had my daughter at the time. They had gotten me down to the jail around 9 o'clock, and about 12:30 they told me I was going into jail.
And how come they said that they were putting you in jail at that point? What did they say to you?
They told me it was a bench warrant, and there's no bail or bond on a bench warrant, that I had to wait till I could see a judge.
And did you again say, hey, what is the charge? What is this warrant for?
All they could tell me was theft of leased property at the time.
And they could not say anything else?
No, that was it.
Now, you spent Thanksgiving. As you mentioned, you have a daughter, a 6-year-old daughter.
Yes.
You spent Thanksgiving in jail. What was that like? You were there for 7 days.
It was very scary. It was nerve-wracking. You don't know what's going to go on. I had a hard time being away from my daughter. I called her quite a bit.
And who was taking care of your child while you were there?
She was with my parents.
And how were you treated when you were in jail? I mean, were you sort of thrown in with everybody else and treated like a criminal?
I was in with everybody else and treated the same as everybody else.
And tell us about your day. How do they walk us through your day when you were there?
I'm not sure time-wise, but it was like they would open the cell doors at a certain time. You would go down for breakfast, and then you were back to your cell till they cleaned up. Everything was very structured. You had your certain times that you were out. You would be out for your meal, you would go in while they cleaned up, and then you would be back out for another hour or so.
And this went on for 7 days?
Yes.
What was the hardest thing for you? What was the most difficult part of this whole ordeal? And were you angry, sitting there saying, I don't know why I'm here even?
At the time I was scared, but then the anger started to build more or less toward the end of it and after I had gotten out of it. After I'd come home.
Mr. Kehoe, obviously this is just a stunning case.
Yes,
how do you think this was handled by officials from beginning to end? And as an attorney, should she have been told what the case was for, why she was there?
Well, first of all, this is simply an outrageous case.
Should she have been told? Yes. There should have been more information as to why she was being picked up on that warrant. Is it something that can happen? Certainly, because there are glitches in the system. It's the way the laws are written, it's the way the crimes code functions, and the worst thing was that this occurred over the Thanksgiving Day weekend when these constables, and this is where we're very upset, the constables lied to my client.
How did they lie to your client?
They told her that she didn't have the opportunity to turn herself in, and she does have that opportunity. This was not a violent crime. It was theft of leased property that they accused her of, and more importantly, they told her she would be out in a couple hours. This was a bench warrant. These constables know that a bench warrant requires the signature of a sitting common plea judge, an elected judge, to let her out.
Have they said anything since, look, we made a mistake?
No. We will eventually find out who they are, but there's been, there's been no apologies from any of the constables. Certainly the district attorney's office was very gracious in my dealings with them, and they saw the ridiculous nature of this charge. My client should never have been charged with a crime if she had actually done it, because they have no evidence that she rented these videos, and she has no recollection and in fact denies ever renting them. This should have been a collections matter. She signed a contract with a video rental store. They should have gone after her, or whoever it was, for the amount of money that it costs to replace the videos. Nobody should ever have been charged with a crime.
Well, and NMA, that's what I was going to ask you. Was this you, after all, who even rented the videos to begin with? Do you know?
No, I had lived out of town at the time.
And how has this been for you? I mean, physically, has this affected your health? Also, you know, even reputation?
It's really affected my reputation. There's been a lot of stress involved with it. Christmas Eve, I was put in the hospital with a heart attack. And then New Year's Eve, I had major heart surgery.
Do you believe it was stress-related because of what happened here?
Yes, I do.
What type of publicity, and how do you think you were embarrassed publicly by this? I mean, with all the press reports and with your family and friends?
Well, Rita, if I could answer that for her.
Sure, go ahead.
The problem here is that most people believe that punishment begins when you're either convicted or plea out to a case. Punishment begins when your name appears in a negative light in the newspaper. This woman is arrested at her place of work, which is at a major intersection. Her family has to lie to her daughter for an entire week, telling her that mommy's working overtime. And then subsequently, everyone finds out that she's in jail, and certainly her reputation has suffered, as well as the dramatic effect it's had on her physical health.
Anna Mae, what would you like to see happen now? Obviously, you have an attorney. Are you seeking an apology, financial compensation, a combination? What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see a combination of both.
And what would you like specifically, if you could get the dream result out of this? What would you seek?
I would say the compensation for the 7 days that I spent in jail away from my family and my daughter.
And what would be the appropriate compensation for you?
Well, that's something that's to be determined at a later date. Certainly, we're looking to have her made whole. This entire event has ripped through her life. Her reputation's been damaged. She suffered physical health. She's been incarcerated for 7 days for a crime that, if she was convicted, would have carried only restorative sanctions, that is, the paying back of the money that the videos cost. We're certainly not looking to put anyone in jail for 7 days for this, unlike my client having to suffer that. But the only way our justice system compensates someone, it's not an eye for an eye justice system, the only way to do it is to compensate her monetarily. And certainly I think we'll be looking at that. And I've been talking with some of our state legislators, and there are discussions on changing the law so that this won't be classified as a crime, and hopefully appointing duty judges to review cases like this at times where there's court holidays or long weekends.
And in this case, it may have also just been a mistake of name, a mistaken identity, right? I mean, it comes down to.
Certainly, because they have no proof, they have no one to identify Anna Mae as the person that rented the videos. They have nothing that ties her to this. Just somebody could have walked in and said, "Hi, I'm Anna Mae Leach, and I want to rent these videos."
Anna Mae, we just have a few seconds left. What can people learn from your case? What would you like people to know?
I don't know, the main thing is just watch what you're doing.
And how did you get through those 7 days? What can people learn from what you endured.
It was hard to go through. I learned an awful lot in those 7 days.
All right. Well, we thank you very much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you.
Sure, it was a difficult situation, and we appreciate it and wish you luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And, well, that is all we have tonight. This is all the time we have. We thank you so much for joining with us. A very interesting evening. And a reminder, tomorrow it will be 1 year since President Bush and Vice President Cheney took office. Remember to join us tomorrow night because we'll have representatives from both the Republican and Democratic National Committees. They will debate the first year of the Bush administration. It will be a good one. I'm Rita Cosby. Thank you for watching FoxWire. We'll see you tomorrow night, and continue to watch the Fox News Channel.
The Hertz Prestige Collection. Jaguar. Volvo. Lincoln. Land Rover.
The Hertz Prestige Collection. Does anyone but Hertz have a collection like this? Not exactly.
Foreign land. A simple mission, but something went horribly wrong. Now, Fox News goes back to the Somalian battlefield with one of the survivors to expose a government cover-up. The true story of Black Hawk Down, a Fox News Channel special.
Sunday, exposing Osama terrorist network. The Enron flatheads to the Hill, plus news from the front lines. Trust the Fox Report for fair and balanced coverage.
In October 1993, a small group of American heroes went into battle. Now, their desperate struggle has come to the silver screen.
Rangers, Deltas, today we go.
Before you see the movie, get the true story from the men who were actually there.
Everybody got their game face on, geared up.
Join us for Black Hawk Down, the real story, right after a break for the latest headlines.
Fox News Live, I'm Kiran Chetri. Accused shoe bomber Richard Reed reportedly told other people about his plans to blow up a plane. Homeland Security correspondent Catherine Herridge is in Washington with more for us. Catherine.
Kieran, the French media is reporting that accused shoe bomber Richard Reed allegedly used a cyber cafe and hotel in Paris to send emails discussing his plans and much more. Reed, who was arraigned in a Boston court Friday, is accused of trying to blow up a transatlantic flight from Paris to Miami by detonating explosives packed in his sneakers. That attempt, of course, was thwarted by passengers on crew on board that flight. Two French newspapers say Reed sent the emails not only telling people about his plan, but also asking for advice when he missed a flight. The unidentified correspondent reportedly saying to take another flight as soon as possible. In another message, Reed allegedly said he wanted to be a martyr for Islam. One terrorism expert says the reports, if true, are consistent with the view that Reed did not act alone.
There was never any doubt, I think, from the outset that this guy had help, that he was not a freelancer. This puts the nail in the coffin. He's not sending emails to himself, so clearly he had at least one or more people operating. I think what's going to be very fascinating now is tracking down where was that email going.
Reed's court-appointed attorney has not responded to the French reports, but has said in the past that the government's case does not allege the crime he's accused of were carried out on behalf of al-Qaeda. Kieran?
Catherine, thank you very much. And that is our update for now. We'll be back again coming up at the bottom of the hour. I'm Kiran Chetri. Stay tuned now for a Fox News special, Black Hawk Down. That's coming up next right here on the network America Trusts for fair and balanced news, the Fox News Channel.
Hello, I'm John Scott. We're joining you today from the East Coast War Memorial in New York's Battery Park. It lies not far from the World Trade Center site and honors the American dead of World War II. But today we're talking about a different front, the soldiers who gave their lives in Somalia, 18 of America's finest. Now their story is coming to the big screen.
3 guys with RPGs coming up on your side now! Focus!
Black Hawk Down hits theaters in New York and L.A. December 28th. It goes nationwide in January. Right now, though, we've got the real story from the men who fought this dreadful battle. Nobody can forget the heartbreaking images of starving Somali children. And in December 1992, Americans felt good, knowing our Marines were going in to help feed a country racked by civil war. But somehow this turned to this. And most of the government's documentation of the events remains classified.
It was a dumb political decision and resulted in the loss of lives of really superb, brave Americans that should never have been asked to do that.
Retired General Joseph Hoare was the commander of the Central Theater of Operation, which includes Somalia. He spoke for the first time to Fox News and says he advised against changing our mission in Somalia and against sending in the Army's elite special forces.
Despite my best efforts to convince the leadership that this was a dumb idea, you know that it went forward.
The target of the mission, this harmless-looking killer, warlord General Mohammed Farah Aidid. These 6 young men are veterans of the Battle of Mogadishu. 18 of their comrades would die. 100 would be injured. But when they went in, they were simply soldiers eager to do a job.
In our unit, we were so ready and wanting to go to, prove to ourselves that we could do it.
They shipped out to Somalia in August 1993. They ran 6 relatively successful missions. Then on October 3rd, they headed out again. The mission started like the previous 6. The target, a compound near the Olympic Hotel, where intelligence reported General Aidid was having a meeting. The Rangers were to rope in from Black Hawk helicopters, capture Aidid and as many of his men as possible, then get out aboard Humvees that were waiting for them. Fox News has obtained this exclusive video of the raid, shot from 5,000 feet. We've also obtained the recordings of the radio transmissions made in the heat of battle.
Everybody got their game face on, geared up.
We knew it might be a little bit more because it's like, well, it's in the bad part of town. So we're like, okay, we need to take extra precautions. But other than that, it was just like every other mission.
Because usually you can't hear gunfire over the sound of the helicopter, but you were hearing popping and stuff coming from underneath you.
When the U.S. launched the raid on October 3rd, the Somalis were ready because they'd seen the Americans do the same thing before. Retired Colonel David Hackworth.
It was totally a predictable, forecastable operation, and the enemy was able to see that and ambush us accordingly.
The Somalis shot a Black Hawk helicopter out of the sky, and because of the Ranger creed,
never leave a fallen comrade.
Falling hands down.
The entire mission changed. The Rangers had to protect their fallen comrade, Chief Warrant Officer Cliff Wolcott. Another Black Hawk goes down. Its pilot, Michael Durant, is captured. Now the Rangers have 2 sites to secure. Our exclusive tape shows incredible acts of bravery as these men protect their buddies. 2 Delta Force sergeants make the ultimate sacrifice.
This is Shugart and Gordon. They knew what they were going into. For sure, they understood the high risk that this was probably a one-way trip.
A one-way trip because Randall Shugart and Gary Gordon had no backup. Their widows accepted the Congressional Medal of Honor. The fighting rages into the night. It takes at least 14 hours to rally the UN troops to bring in their armor and help the Rangers get their wounded out.
One of those soldiers that died didn't even have a life-threatening wound. He lay on this tree for hours. They couldn't get to him. Imagine how his father must feel. He's got to feel a little more bitter than I do.
Ben and Diane Pilla's son Dominic died that day. They, like many parents of young men who died, are outraged by what happened and the secrecy that surrounded it. Larry Joyce lost his son, Casey.
The thing that really turned me on was when Clinton had an interview and one of the reporters brought up Somalia. And he referred to a few unfortunate losses. And I went berserk. How dare the President of the United States refer to my son and those other brave young men who died that day as unfortunate losses.
Had I known at that time what I knew after the events of Sunday, I would have made a very different decision.
The late Secretary of Defense, Les Aspin, who refused additional armor to the troops, took the heat for what happened. Many believe it is what led to his resignation and ultimately his death. Former Congressman Lee Hamilton considered Aspin a close friend.
It just about killed him. He went through a great deal of agony on it. I don't know whether it hastened his death or not, but it certainly didn't help.
As for the young men who were there, they have trouble placing blame.
As soldiers, we're not supposed to think about the politics. Our job is the arm of our government.
You just cannot doubt your chain of command. Your confidence is in your training and your leadership.
I think going into it, you hope that the politics are right, and you might hope that, hey, somebody's making the right decision, but I don't think you really even think about it.
For the men who survived, the lessons learned are important, but maybe not as crucial as the heroics of their friends.
The things that I want people to understand is that the incredible acts that went on are lost in that. You know, heroism and honor and valor.
I just don't want people to forget my friends that died.
Up next, we take you back to Mogadishu with one of the Rangers who was there.
I'm not looking for recognition or glory or anything like that. I just want people to know that that it wasn't just feeding the starving. That this was there was a lot more to it than that. There were a lot of heroic acts.
How do you invest to help secure your retirement? You start with your dreams and Edward Jones.
My life, my world, it all begins with a dream.
Edward Jones.
Tired of struggling down glass after glass of powdered fiber for regularity? Consider refreshing glasses of water with FiberCon tablets, a whole lot easier to take.
And every bit as effective as powder.
FiberCon, refreshingly easier to take.
Some people have a passion for driving. One such person is engineer Chris Marr. For the all-new GMC Yukon XL Denali, Chris and the team paired a 320 horsepower V8 to full-time all-wheel drive for a mix of power and agility found in no other SUV. To quote Chris, who says you can't teach a big dog new tricks? Introducing the GMC Yukon XL Denali.
You work on it.
You think on it.
You play on it.
It was kind of like this dream I'd always
Spend
had.
all day on it.
Getting into something.
Chill on
Talk
it.
on
Your
it.
homework.
Relax on it.
It's really warm. It's comforting. You entertain on it. Pass the time.
Watch TV.
Romance. Drift away.
Being able to be there for hours.
You spend your life on it. Shouldn't it be the furniture you've always wanted?
And now it's easy with the Simple Finance Plan, only at Ethan Allen.
Furniture built for your life.
At a price you can actually live with.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear
He tamed a government out of control.
that I will faithfully execute the office.
He mourned with a nation.
So help me God.
He became the defender of freedom.
This great nation will never be intimidated.
Join Fox News Channel for a look back at George W. Bush, a year in the White House.
These World War II heroes' names are immortalized in slabs of granite. But for the victims of the Battle of Mogadishu, one survivor's tribute was simply to go back.
We flew into the hornet's nest, and we knew it. I think we knew it when we left the ground.
25-year-old Jason Coleman saw a lifetime of terror and heroism in that 18-hour battle in Mogadishu. It's a city where warlords rule and anarchy reigns.
I'm not looking for recognition or glory or anything like that. I just want people to know that that it wasn't just feeding the starving. That this was there was a lot more to it than that. There were a lot of heroic acts, and a lot of good people lost their lives here. And I don't think that the story's ever been told to justify what really happened here. There's always been a twist put on it. There's always been that political agenda behind it, and I'm not here to talk politics. I'm here to tell the story.
American troops had been on a United Nations mission in 1992 to feed starving Somalis. But warlord Mohammed Farah Aidid's clan was looting the food and murdering peacekeepers. So President Clinton approved a new mission, capture Aidid.
18 Americans lost their lives because they were fighting for something they believed in, because we were doing the job we were getting paid to do. That's why 18 Americans got killed.
We invited the former Army Ranger to join our Fox News team as the first American soldier ever to return to Mogadishu. The memories can be painful for a man who still lives by the Ranger creed.
I'll never leave a fallen comrade fall in the hands of the enemy.
After a helicopter shot down by Aidid's army plunged into the crowded city, Coleman and First Lieutenant Tom DiTomaso decided to stay. They spent 12 hours in a fierce gun battle to protect their injured and the dead body of pilot Cliff Wolcott. As the battle raged, Coleman, who was a medical technician and radio telephone operator, had his hands full.
In the back room there where we had the television, that's where we saw, the bodies of our fellow soldiers being dragged through the streets. And it was an intense feeling of like we had let them down, and there was an intense feeling of anger too.
There is nothing left of the American hangar where Coleman and hundreds of other soldiers bunked, except the twisted, collapsed frame.
I stayed right about here. This was my cot. Called this home.
But some things in Somalia have not changed. Armed trucks, known as technicals, from warring clans still cruise the streets of Mogadishu and carry anything from machine guns to surface-to-air missiles.
Good morning, Somalia.
In coming back to Mogadishu, Coleman is risking his life because it can be a volatile and unpredictable place. While we were shooting this story, sporadic gunfire broke out around us. It was a nice way of telling us to leave.
Understood. Understood.
There is no one watching his back this time, but Coleman felt he had to return to Mogadishu for one reason: to honor the memory of his dead comrades.
It needed to be done because it needs to be acknowledged what happened here, because people don't care if they don't know.
October 3rd, 1993. Intelligence sources reported warlord Aidid was meeting with his clan in a compound near the Olympic Hotel. The mission? The Rangers were to rappel in from Black Hawk helicopters to capture as many men as possible and then get out by Humvees that were waiting for them. Fox News has obtained exclusive video of the raid shot from above the action. We also obtained radio transmissions made in the heat of battle.
We fast scoped into the intersection here. As soon as we hit the ground, you could hear the snaps. This is the actual impact of the bullets hitting the walls and the ground around you. You don't look at who's holding the gun. You look at the gun and you fire at the gun.
Under heavy fire, in brownout conditions, they secured the target building and extracted some of Aidid's henchmen. It was then all hell broke loose.
I looked up, and it was at that point that I saw a helicopter overhead, extremely low, and the tail boom was spinning around and around. Instinct just took over and started running down the street to get to the crash site.
You could look to your left, or you could look to your right, and you'd see mobs of people racing in the same direction we were going. We knew what we had on our hands was just a foot race.
You observed women being used for human shields and children carrying ammunition across the streets in the middle of a firefight. It wasn't this television Nintendo game. This was shouldering your rifle, aiming, and pulling the trigger.
Where are we, man?
This is a crash site where I spent about 12 hours. There's the rotor there. There's the forward end of the fuselage, the cockpit right there. I spent quite a bit of time underneath the tail boom here with some casualties waiting for it to get dark so we can move back across the street. I'm not sure who it was, but they were brave. Climbed up inside the helicopter, pulled what ammunition, medical supplies, everything they could, pulled it out of the bird and took it into the building to help our casualties.
The battle raged into the night, and when we come back, former Ranger Jason Coleman continues this story of survival.
The new 255 horsepower Nissan Maxima.
1 part tulip, 2 parts French vanilla. Add 1 whitewash shutter. Mix 1 quart lazy afternoon. Stir in 1 cup sunshine and a pinch of fresh sand. Serves 1 or a family of 6. Swedish Home by Ethan Allen. All the ingredients you need to make an elegantly simple home.
Taking care of your skin is important, and Faces Unlimited on Northwest 23rd can make it simple. Our goal since 1977 is to give you the best possible skin you can have. Our staff is knowledgeable and friendly and will determine the best treatment for you in a free consultation. We cater to all ages and are up to date on the newest technologies and treatments. And we provide skincare products for every skin type and ethnicity. Call or come in today to schedule a free consultation or visit our website at facesunlimited.com.
Ready for an experience that's out of this world? Come into Tony Roma's. Our reputation spans the globe, and we're famous for doing whatever it takes to satisfy your craving for the true flavor of the grill. Like the new Ultimate Roma Feast. Flame-grilled ribs, barbecued chicken, smoked sausage, corn on the cob, and coleslaw. All at a special price right now.
Whatever it takes to make it great.
Welcome back. We continue now with a ranger's return to the once bloody streets of Mogadishu.
Assalamu alaikum. See, spent the night here all night. Our casualties were in that room right there. That hole right there was made by our C4 so that we could move into that building as well.
Was this woman in my house on October the 3rd? This woman?
Yeah.
She was here.
Ask her if she had a small child.
What does she remember of what happened on that day?
She remembers many things about that day. She said that when they have taken this area hostage, they didn't do any harm to them. They were very good people.
The Little Bird gunships ran fire support the entire time we were out there. They were probably our saving grace. And all night long, constantly, you just heard 10 minutes out, 5 minutes out, relief's on its way. And we wondered what was going on between that time and their arrival. And now it's pretty evident as to what was going on. A lot of people lost their lives trying to save ours. You just can't express the thanks that you wish you could give those people.
After hours of chaos and confusion in the UN structure of command, a Malaysian tank made it to the crash site. The dead and injured were finally loaded up and taken away.
Somewhere along this stretch of road here, we were leaving on foot from crash site 1. After about 14 hours on the ground of fighting, having to leave on foot was, it was just kind of like, you've got to be kidding, you know, this is a really bad time to tell a joke.
There were no vehicles to transport the soldiers back to base, so 70 of them had to literally run for their lives to the safety of the Pakistani UN compound. The strip of road is now known as the Mogadishu Mile.
It got to the point where I didn't even look down the street. I would just fire as I crossed the street.
Once at the UN compound, they were picked up and choppered back to base at the hangar. That's where Jason learned the real magnitude of the disaster.
Getting off the helicopter there, it was just like, you know, I was happy. I was like, you know, I was happy to see that hangar. And but then again, it was a sober feeling. It was like, you know, a lot of the guys didn't get to walk back with me.
Like two Delta Force heroes named Randy Shugart and Gary Gordon, seen here running into gunfire and a one-way mission. Both men died while trying to save their comrade, pilot Michael Durant, who was trapped by an angry mob after his chopper was shot down. Today, that crash site has become a shrine of sorts.
Yeah, there's the ball joint right there.
Whatever couldn't be buried was stripped off and used as materials for homes, which have been built all around the site. And life goes on. Coleman was one of 4 Rangers assigned to escort pilot Michael Durant after his release by the Somalis, a duty that he still considers an honor.
He got on the Freedom Bird back to the house, so that was a good feeling to get him back. And then, you know, the rest of the remains of the other soldiers came back as well. And we were just glad to get those guys back and to know that the families back home could put them to rest.
The battle may be over, but it might not be the last combat U.S. troops see in Somalia. We'll tell you why when we come back.
You work on it.
You think on it.
You play on it.
It was kind of like this dream I'd always had.
Spend all day on it.
Getting into something.
Chill on
Talk on
it.
it. Relax on it.
It's really warm. It's comforting. You entertain on it. Pass the time.
Watch TV.
Romance. Drift away.
Being able to be there for hours.
You spend your life on it. Shouldn't it be the furniture you've always wanted?
And now it's easy with the Simple Finance Plan, only at Ethan Allen.
Furniture built for your life.
At a price you can actually live with.
Your turn to play bad cop?
Nah. Good cop and bad cop left for the day. I'm a different kind of cop.
What's a good cop?
What people want is to make it to their cars without getting mugged.
What's a bad cop?
If some cop roughs up some guy.
Too late, G-Man. So you got some kind of third nag going down there.
It's don't ask, don't tell.
What's justice?
Mac is not a cop. He's Al Capone with a badge.
TV you'll never forget.
To the police!
The Shield, coming this March to FX.
Saturday, shifting loyalties, blurring party lines. D.C. is in an uproar. Mort and Fred on the economic plan, plus The Hill, the Attorney General, even the White House. Is the media looking for a scandal? The Enron mess on Fox News Watch. Then, it's the best of the week on the O'Reilly Factor. Sunday, imprisonment, cruelty, torture. A disturbing and shocking first-hand report from behind enemy lines. This weekend on Fox Magazine with Lori Dew.
Experts predict that after Afghanistan, U.S. troops will be on their way to another foreign land. On the list, Iraq, Sudan, Yemen, the Philippines, and yes, Somalia.
I wouldn't say it's payback time. That's the past. That's history. What we're looking now is the future.
America is reportedly already in Somalia, hoping to locate terror training camps. A small group of military personnel has apparently met with sympathetic Somali warlords.
Somalia, as you well know, is right up there on the radar screen. Even the president of Somalia has said that he can't control some of the terrorist activities going on in Somalia.
One connection to Osama bin Laden reportedly comes from his own lips. He's been bragging about teaching Somalis how to shoot down choppers with RPGs, or rocket-propelled grenades. It was RPGs that brought down the Blackhawks in 1993.
We don't have the proper command and control. We don't have the proper campaign plan. It's not carried out efficiently. Then things really go south very quickly. And that's what happened in downtown Mogadishu.
If the beginning of the war on terror is any indication, it's unlikely we'll repeat the mistakes of 1993. As a result of those mistakes made by military planners, many Americans view the Battle of Mogadishu as a loss. But given the performance of our soldiers on the ground that day, counting that fight as a defeat might not be accurate.
They killed some 800 Somalis, wounded some 1,200, and lost 18 Americans. To me, that's an acceptable loss. Those odds are actually quite tremendous.
For more on this story, or the latest on America's war against terror, visit our website at foxnews.com. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Scott. Good night.
This week on Fox News Watch, the collapse of Enron. Business scandal, political scandal, journalistic scandal, the raising of the flag. This picture is worth more than 1,000 words, and a lot of them have been controversial. And the president and his pretzel, the king and his compensation, and a story about these three men that you're not going to believe. We will cover the coverage after the latest news.
Fox News Live, I'm Kiran Chetri. Taliban fighter John Walker could soon be back in the U.S. Fox News has learned that Walker may be on a plane headed to America as early as tomorrow. We're told he'll be held at a federal prison in Alexandria, Virginia, until his trial. Walker will be tried in civilian court on a number of charges, including conspiracy to kill Americans. If convicted, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Fox News has learned that top U.S. intelligence believe the world's most wanted man is likely still alive in or near Afghanistan. They say that intelligence suggests bin Laden has not died. That contradicts statements made from Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf earlier this week that bin Laden may have died from kidney failure. The first carrier to launch strikes in the war on terror is back home. The USS Carl Vinson sailed safely back into a California port Saturday. Vinson kicked off America's retaliation back in October. Since then, planes have flown about 4,200 combat sorties. Secretary of State Colin Powell is in Japan for a conference on rebuilding Afghanistan. He spent the past week visiting Central Asian countries, including Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, and Nepal. And more fiery lava streaming out of a volcano in the African nation of Congo. The city of Goma has been devastated by the eruptions, which started Thursday. Dozens of people have died, and thousands of others have had to run for their lives, fleeing to neighboring countries. And finally, let it snow. A winter storm making its way up the eastern seaboard. That storm is expected to drop 8 inches in Maryland before drifting further north. And to the north in Philadelphia, people there also getting hit with their first big storm of the season. That is our update. We'll be back again for you coming up at the top of the hour. I'm Kiran Chetri. Fox News Watch is up next.
Will it end up being called Enron Gate? Is it that big a scandal? That kind of scandal? I'll ask Jim Pinkerton of Newsday, Jeff Cohen, Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, Jane Hall of the American University, syndicated columnist Cal Thomas. And I'll try to make sure their answers aren't too long-winded. I'm Eric Burns. Fox News Watch is coming right up. question, should the media have seen the Enron collapse coming? If so, why didn't they? I'm sorry that I pressured you by saying the answers won't be long-winded. Give us a short-winded answer.
Well, I think the business reporters certainly should have been on top of this. One of the clues is the putting all the eggs in one basket in the 401k plan. That's just bad economic advice. Enron isn't the first corporation to have this policy or to allow it. A lot of other corporations have. There has been some reporting on that, but not nearly enough. This was an accident ready to happen.
Should journalists have seen that accident ready to happen?
Well, you know, the market was, there's 50 million, the whole world market is watching the Enron stock price. Everybody who buys stock and participates in the market, there's 1 trillion shares a day being traded. Nobody was paying attention adequately. But speaking of business journalists, a place of honor for Lou Dobbs, a rival network that will go unnamed, was interviewing Tim O'Brien, ABC refugee over to CNN now, and O'Brien is saying, well, you know, Enron gave a lot of money to Republicans, and the Center for Public Integrity, which is a liberal think tank in Washington, emphasizes this. And Dobbs said back, didn't Enron also give money to Democrats? And then Dobbs said, you know, we shouldn't, Tim, just be a hanging court here on CNN. We should give both sides of the story. This guy should be at Fox.
But also, I wonder.
Lou Dobbs is flacking for the Republicans.
I wonder, Jeff, if this brings up an important point about this coverage, which is that it may get too politicized. That it already seems to me that Republican pundits are looking for an excuse to exonerate any Republican from any complicity. That Democratic pundits are looking to hang Republicans. And what if it just turns out to be a business scandal?
Oh, I think it's much bigger than a business scandal. But you're right about it. The politicization is silly. It's
already begun.
It's a bipartisan scandal. It's also the corporation that was probably most intimate with George Bush's administration than any other corporation.
Which doesn't necessarily prove at this point.
Yeah, it's deeper, right. It's deeper than George Bush II. I mean, in answer to your first question, the media were so big on cheerleading the go-go 90s that here was a corporation based on smoke and mirrors. Every time they wanted a regulation changed or a law changed, beginning with President Bush I, through Clinton, through last year, they got the laws changed. And that's the real scandal. It's not that the system worked because at the very end, when the company was a corpse, the Bush administration, the current one, didn't help them. It's how the laws were changed by a corrupt system, and both parties get paid money by this corporation, and the laws keep changing to facilitate the smoke and mirrors.
Well, you know, I think it's very interesting. Alan Sloan, who's a wonderfully entertaining business writer, has a wonderful piece in Newsweek saying this was a huge failure of the system. There are a lot of angles that should have been noticed that are now being noticed. Arthur Anderson, the accounting firm, you know, now has admitted that they had someone shredding documents. The fact is, money corrupts this entire system, Democrats and Republicans. These accounting firms were in a conflict of interest. I think that's a story we might have been looking at the time. It wasn't really until they had a conference call with journalists and said, oh, by the way, we suddenly lost, what, $680 million? We're a little short, guys. That people said, hey, maybe this is a story.
You know what, Jim, something that's been reported already is the likelihood of reform for dealing with business or for the dealings of businesses like Enron. What about journalistic reform for covering business? Well, do you foresee that as a likely consequence of journalists having missed the story?
Because reporters are never self-conscious, and they're always self-righteous. And so Jane and Jeff can't get off the idea that this is a story that involves Bush.
We've agreed. No, I said it was a
Jeff said it was bipartisan.
No, hold on, Jane.
I said Democrats and Republicans.
You said, that's not, but it doesn't involve Bush at all. You said it involves campaign contributions. The point is, the lesson here is the Bush administration took $600 grand from Enron and didn't give them anything.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
They let the company fail. Paul O'Neill and Larry Lindsey said, we're going to let this company fail. We don't care what happens to it. It's the exact opposite of what Jane and Jeff said.
Can't we just agree for the moment that we don't know yet extent of political complicity? And we're guilty of what I just said, which is trying to politicize the story before we have the facts.
Friday's New York Times front page, after about 15 paragraphs and all of the suggestions that something immoral or illegal might be done, there was this one pregnant sentence: nothing illegal has been charged.
Let us talk briefly, not about how the media has handled this story, but how one of the parties in the story is trying to handle the media. That is Anderson, the accounting firm. Took out a full-page ad in the New York Times not long ago. Let me give you one or two sentences from it. We took these actions. This is after explaining how Anderson is going to reform its procedures and how it's cooperating with the authorities. We took these actions to make it perfectly clear to the public, our people, our clients, and the government that Anderson will do what is right. We also want there to be no mistake about Anderson's willingness to take all appropriate steps necessary to maintain confidence, if there is some left, I'm sorry, that's something I shouldn't have added, in the integrity of our firm. Jeff, the ultimate that you do as a mea culpa, isn't it, when you really see the heat, is if you've got the money left, you take out a full-page ad in the New York Times.
I read the full-page ad the morning it appeared. It said nothing. It proves nothing. I mean, the workers and the retirees and the small investors have such reason to hate the people at the top who got away with all the money, the Enron executives and Anderson, that this kind of full-page ad is not going to help anything.
I think, Cal, it does prove something, and that is that a full-page ad in the New York Times is looked on by people who are in trouble as a way to get out of trouble.
Well, the New York Times likes it. It helps pad their bottom line. But it's like a house of prostitution after it's been raided, promising a course on abstinence.
We have to take a break. We'll be back with a picture and 1,000 words or so.
Images of September 11th are etched in our memory. This one most of all. Now it's a work of art. But should art rewrite history?
Low interest or high pollen? If you're one of millions who suffer from seasonal allergies, you may need Allegra. Only Allegra has fexofenadine, an exclusive allergy-fighting ingredient that gives you long-lasting 24-hour relief without causing drowsiness. For people 12 and older, side effects are low and may include headache, cold, or back pain. Talk to your doctor today about allergies and free Allegra samples. Once daily Allegra. Real relief for real living.
1 part tulip. 2 parts French vanilla. Add 1 whitewash shutter. Mix 1 quart lazy afternoon. Stir in 1 cup sunshine. And a pinch of fresh sand. Serves 1 or a family of 6. Swedish Home by Ethan Allen. All the ingredients you need to make an elegantly simple home.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
He tamed a government out of control.
That I will faithfully execute the office.
He mourned with a nation.
So help me God.
He became the defender of freedom.
This great nation will never be intimidated.
Join Fox News Channel for a look back at George W. Bush, a year in the White House.
Sunday, exposing Osama terrorist network. The Enron flap heads to the Hill, plus news from the front lines. Trust the Fox Report for fair and balanced coverage.
The creators of That 70s Show return to a different time.
Okay, party!
When girls just wanted to have fun.
Can I have a gin and something pink, please?
And boys were more than happy to oblige.
You don't want to be dating a bisexual. Unless you want to wake up some morning, find yourself in bed with 2 ladies.
That 80s Show, series premiere Wednesday on Fox.
You got one too! Yeah, the connection's great, and it's only $8 a minute.
This may be the most famous of all the September 11th related visual images. 3 firefighters raising an American flag at Ground Zero. But it has certainly been the most controversial. The reason, Jane, as you know, is they're considering making a statue out of this image. And the statue, in the picture, the 3 firefighters are white. That's what they were in real life. In the statue, it was originally intended to have 1 black, 1 Hispanic, and 1 white. Just a day or so ago, the fire department says that it is now considering alternatives. And I'm wondering if you think the reason for this is that the media made such a big deal about such a small matter that a change was forced.
Well, I think so. You know, I think this is political correctness run amok. I mean, I don't think...
On the part of the media?
Well, no, I think on the part of the people who were designing the statue, I think, you know,
So the media were right to point out that the statue didn't represent the reality.
I think the media were right, although there was a column from someone saying we should represent everybody who was involved in September 11th. You know, my feeling is you don't change the statue of the raising of the flag at Iwo Jima. You don't change the reality here. I think this was one where calling attention to this does raise the important question.
Yeah, but the statue's gotten more coverage than the fact that 94% of the fire department is white, and there's no major city that's as less diverse than
But
New York.
isn't that a separate issue?
But it's not the job of the statue to change
my first
the
reaction,
fire department.
my first reaction to this was, you know, well, it's sort of nice. You know, it's honoring all the heroes. We're united in our diversity. 25 of the dead firemen are black or Latino. Then I thought, this is that conservative political correctness that puts a happy face on something that really isn't that happy, and that's that over the years there have been a lot of exclusion of racial minorities from the fire department.
It's reality. No, wait a minute. If it had been 3 African Americans there, or 3 of any other minority, and anybody had tried to include a white guy or somebody else, you'd have the NAACP, you'd have all the editorial writers saying, this is terrible, this doesn't reflect reality.
Jim,
it's a double standard.
Isn't the very fact that something so heroic as what these 3 firefighters did was turned into, whoever did it, the media or people who just resented the idea, that this has turned into a PC scandal? Isn't it somewhat sad and demeaning to the whole notion of what went on? We're talking about the racial diversity here, and there's a much larger issue, which is the heroism.
That's right, and I think that'll be preserved because they're going to back off on this silly plan to make a PC statue out of it. But look, the media were at least as happy to have the statue be, quote, diverse. The Chicago Sun-Times had a story on this. The headline was diversity added to statue. Like that was a good thing. Like, hey, there's more diversity that makes the statue better. We're going to make the truth and make it better. But the real story here, in terms of the way they play in the media, is that these firemen and their lawyer got all over the press. Aaron O'Reilly, they're all over the place saying, look, this is ridiculous. We're going to sue. We're going to something. They made a change in the status quo because the New York City and the liberal establishment would have been perfectly happy with this, quote, diverse, unquote, statue.
Let's hope that the status quo, perhaps not helped by any conservatives, the status quo changes the historic exclusion of racial minorities from the fire department in New York City. That would be good, too.
The number of dead were diverse.
But this is so true in the media often. You know, the symbol becomes the story. No, I mean, I agree with Jeff to that degree. The reality is a different thing. But I just don't think you change what happened, which is heroic firemen. Everybody should be able to identify with what they did, regardless of
A simple way to have done this would be to make a statue somewhere showing diversity. And if you're going to make another statue, or if you're going to represent the picture in some other way, represent the picture accurately, and then pick a different setting and show a more diverse background.
You might be right. The head of the Black Firefighters Association says we're more interested in getting blacks on the force than in a statue.
Jim, you mentioned the O'Reilly show, which I was watching the other night when this attorney, Bill Kelly, was on. Here's something else he said. The firefighters have publicity rights within the image. One of the reasons they hired a lawyer, apparently, is, and he also mentioned earlier in the interview, defining publicity rights, paintings and T-shirts. It seems to me that these 3 white guys are trying to figure out ways that financially they can capitalize on this.
It's possible. I mean, it's a beautiful photograph. I'm delighted there's going to be a statue. I always was faintly curious about how they came to be photographed like that and how everybody got the shot and how it was lined up so nicely and so on. They're made in the same way that the Iwo Jima statue was reenacted for the benefit of making that beautiful photograph by Joel Rosenthal that's now in Virginia. So there's a possibility here. There's just a little more production and showbiz and premeditation all the way through.
But, you know, the photographer from the Bergen Record, you know, came upon the scene. I mean, we don't know all the particulars there. I thought O'Reilly was pretty tough on the attorney for the firefighters. The attorney said they'd had 5,000 requests for interviews. I mean, I don't question their motives. They didn't know they were being photographed. I mean, they didn't know at the time this was happening.
There's a lot of money that's going to be made on this. You had Lisa Beamer, the widow of Todd Beamer, is doing a book. Nobody begrudges any of the victims making some money out of this. What would be a problem, as Jim indicated, if the T-shirts go into the pockets of the firefighters.
It's time for another break. We'll be back with our quick takes on the media.
He knew the job was tough when he took it, but did he know how bruising it would be? Stay tuned for The Prez, The Pretzel, and The Press.
Do I play sports? Yeah. Fantasy football.
I'm not trendy enough for a trendy diet.
I would count calories, but I'm not very good at math.
I'd like to run a marathon, but it's quite a long distance.
I diet sometimes, but only in moderation.
If these people can lose weight, so can you. A recent study by a major university found that having a bowl of Kellogg's Special K or Kellogg's Smart Start for 2 meals a day for 2 weeks could help you lose up to 6 pounds.
I feel great.
How precise can changing a hearing aid battery get? Oh, this precise. Introducing the Energizer Easy Change, the world's first hearing aid battery dispenser. Simply turn the dial, then slide the battery out to activate. The magnetic arm holds the battery securely for precise placement every time, no matter what hearing aid style or battery size you use. The Energizer Easy Change. It changes batteries precisely.
All this month, nobody takes you inside the Sundance Film Festival like Sundance Channel and AT&T Broadband. Meet the filmmakers of tomorrow today with daily updates from Park City, Utah. Watch our exclusive live coverage of the Sundance Film Festival Awards show and see world television premieres and breakout films from past festivals. Go inside. Watch Sundance Channel on AT&T Digital Cable today.
Hi, I'm Rick from Empire Glass. Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield and will now pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And will now give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's, the Northwest's #1 family restaurant and bakery, with any windshield replacement. So for the highest in quality windshields, including up to $100 off your comprehensive deductible and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 251-9881. When you think glass, think Empire.
Want to save some money and keep your home nice and warm all winter long? It's not hard to do if you call Housewarmers Oil Company, your first choice in premium heating oil at a discount price. Housewarmers offers all the benefits of full service without the huge price tag. Plus, you get the best oil you can buy at a discount. So rely on Housewarmers, rain or shine, ice or snow. You can't go wrong. Housewarmers Oil, your first choice in premium heating oil at a discount. Call today.
Boys will be boys, and they do love their toys. Explore the high-tech, high-power, high-price gadgets from millionaire marvels to million-dollar toys. Boys' Toys on Modern Marvels, beginning Monday night, January 28th, only on the History Channel.
Sponsored by Mattress World.
It's time now for our quick takes on the media. Headline number 1, hard to swallow. That is an actual headline from the British newspaper The Independent, following reports that President Bush had choked on a pretzel and fainted, bruising his cheek last Sunday. An editorial in London's Daily Telegraph said, "This is exactly the sort of accident that befalls Homer Simpson night after night." The foreign press love to have the light story, which enables them to make fun of American politicians, don't they, Cal?
Well, they do, and there's a lot to make fun of. But look, I understand the interest of the media in the president's health. Presidents have lied about their health before, covered up things in recent times, well, in just the last century, from Woodrow Wilson right up through John F. Kennedy, LBJ.
But they always have stories better than, "I was alone with a pretzel."
Well,
it sounded kind of lonely.
I heard one joke, if he'd still been drinking, he could have washed it down with a beer and it wouldn't have been a problem.
Does anyone think there's been too much made of this? You be someone.
Speak up. Are you joking?
I do.
He's president. His health matters. I have to confess, I'm a fan of Bush. I don't quite believe this story.
You know, it's
May I ask you, what don't you believe?
That he was choking on a pretzel and fell. I just don't quite.
Oh, you think there's going to be more to it?
Well, there may never be more to it, because unless the dogs talk. But I don't quite believe it.
So we may have a nice scandal to talk about next week, and if not, Jim will make one up. Quick take headline number 2. Gab guru gets 50% pay cut. Well, not really. The first day reports of a new contract for CNN talk show host Larry King said that he'd be making $14 million a year. The second day reports said the amount was closer to $7 million a year with stock options. Jeff, how does the amount change so much from one day?
It could be that King or other stars, they negotiate with their employers through the media, and that's, I think, why these numbers sometimes get funny.
But don't they realize that reports of a $14 million salary for someone who talks an hour a day is going to offend the populace as much as impress
Maybe that
them?
was leaked by the employer to negotiate them downward. I just think these numbers are always funny. The big issue, though, is will these networks quit giving away so much money to stars and start hiring real real journalist. If we had more journalists, maybe someone would have uncovered the smoke and mirrors known as Enron a couple years ago before people got fleeced.
Did you ever think he'd get us back to Enron?
Well,
on
no,
Larry
and
King's
I just
salary?
want to say I used to do these kinds of stories, and, you know, I write about the salaries of anchors, try to find out. And when somebody's in negotiations, you know, if you're lucky, their agent is talking off the record to you. They never exactly tell you. They sort of confirm. I think that that's what's been going on. It's of interest. It doesn't. It sounds as if this may have been an error, though.
But Cal, don't journalists just have to cool it, though, a little bit? Do they think that because it's only a story about celebrities that it's okay if you're wrong as opposed to being wrong on the Enron story?
No, it's a game they play. You know, I mean, people negotiating for salaries.
Why play it if you're going to make yourself look bad?
It's an ego thing. And besides, $7 million makes Larry a piker. That's Katie Couric's withholding.
Cal's got it, which is these guys. Michael Jackson wanted to be $1 billion star, so he had some phony deal with Sony to get $1 billion. It went much less than that. I think there's another theory here, which is King is just lying.
Thank you for that. Quick take headline number 3. Those who do not remember the past are doomed to write stupid inscriptions. Government officials in Lauderhill, Florida, ordered a plaque for this year's celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Their intention was to honor the deep-voiced black actor James Earl Jones. Instead, the inscription read, "Thank you, James Earl Ray, for keeping the dream alive." Now, as you might imagine, there is a huge furor about this, but Jim, what it leads me to question is the extent to which not just inscription writers, but journalists these days know history. That conceivably could have been a mistake made by a columnist in some paper.
It could have been. Happily, it wasn't me.
Is it a real deficit on the part of writers these days, of journalists these days, what they know about history, Jane?
Well, you know, it's kind of scary. I mold young minds when I'm not here trying to mold middle-aged minds. And it's astonishing the recent history that people don't know, young people don't know. Part of it, I think you can blame on the media because the Today Show is not the History Channel. It's all now. So
I talked to somebody who should have known just the other night. We're listening to some music in the background. Happened to be Miles Davis. She'd never heard of him. Miles Davis, a very famous trumpeter. The closest we get to history today is the instant replay, thanks to television.
History, someone once said, for young people is what they did last weekend. We have to take one more break. When we come back, it'll be your turn.
The new 255 horsepower Infiniti i35 with the most powerful engine in its class. Don't blink. More power, more grace, more I. The new i35 from Infiniti.
You work on it.
You think on it.
You play on it.
It was kind of like this dream I'd always had.
Spend all day on it.
Getting into something.
Chill on
Talk on it. Relax on it.
It's really warm. It's comforting. You entertain on it. Pass the time.
Watch TV.
Romance. Drift away.
Think on it.
Being able to be there for hours.
You spend your life on it. Shouldn't it be the furniture you've always wanted?
And now it's easy with the Simple Finance Plan, only at Ethan Allen.
Furniture built for your life.
At a price you can actually live with.
Breast cancer does happen to young women. At the Young Survival Coalition, we're fighting to save women's lives through awareness, advocacy, and action. For more information about our efforts and how you can help, check our website, www.youngsurvival.org.
This weekend, Taliban prisoners vow to kill Americans. What's happening in Cuba? Juliet Huddy and Bill McCuddy have the latest, getting our derailed economy back on track. Jim Angle on the president's whistle stops. Plus, Powell's political olive branch. Did the message take root? Patty Ann Brown and Diane Diamond report. It's live coverage of America at War.
I'm Edie Donahue. Monday on Fox & Friends, Al-Qaeda detainees at Guantanamo Bay. Why are some groups up in arms over their treatment? We'll talk about that at 6 a.m. Eastern.
The post-September 11th coverage led Valerie Lee from Alexandria, Virginia, to write to us to say she thinks there are too many funerals on TV these days. I agree that the firefighters, police, the CIA agent killed in Afghanistan, the first military service member killed, etc., were brave, dedicated, patriotic, etc. However, I find it curious and annoying that the news channels continue to televise these services. Perhaps someone could start a funeral and memorial service channel. On the subject of accused terrorist Zacarias Moussaoui and whether to televise his trial, James Cass of East Brunswick, New Jersey writes, Americans are already up to their ears with courtrooms on TV. Syndicated judge shows Ally McBeal, Judging Amy, The Practice, Philly, Family Law, and 3 Law & Order series. If we're so obsessed with the court system, why do we try so hard to get out of jury duty? About Hustler magazine publisher Larry Flint's lawsuit to get journalists to the front lines in Afghanistan, Bertha Egbert of Sutherland, Oregon writes, I, for one, would like to see Larry Flint on the war front line, way out in front, all by himself. About Vanessa Leggett, who's writing a book about a murder investigation and spent 5 months in jail for not sharing her notes with the police. Here's Ted Smith of Attleboro, Massachusetts. I do not understand how this woman could get all of this information over 3 years and the police could not. If they want the information, let them go out like she did and gather it themselves. About CNN's Little Bit Sexy promo for Paula Zahn, which was so sexy that it was pulled after a few airings, we hear this from Jim and Diane Crandall of Marietta, Ohio. In a society that is still very much a man's world, it sent a message that being somewhat sexy is still one of the most important things a woman needs to be in order to be successful. What crap! From Shaker Bourday of Fremont, California. Regarding your discussion on should journalists provide an email address when they publish an article, absolutely. In my opinion, journalists who don't provide any method for people to react to their piece are either cowards or close-minded, both of which are lousy traits in a journalist. And finally, about the email we received last week from a group offering us videos showing sex with animals, here's a response from Stan Keene of Massillon, Ohio. I hope that you are not too shocked by animal sex. We, the people, are screwed by elephants and donkeys nearly on a daily basis, not to mention the jackals in the media. I wouldn't feel so bad about it, but they don't even kiss us first. Thank you, Mr. Keene. We needed that. And, in fact, it's because of emails like yours that we so enthusiastically agree with Shaker Bourday about providing our address, which is newswatch@foxnews.com. Please, when you email us, include your first and last names and let us know where you're from. That is all the time that we have left for this week. Thanks go to Jeff Cohen, to Cal Thomas. They go across the table to Jane Hall and Jim Pinkerton. And they go out there, most of all, to you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week when Fox News Watch will be back on the air.
Good evening, I'm Judith Regan, and tonight we're taking a break from our regular show to bring you a moment-by-moment look at the first year of George W. Bush's presidency. On this anniversary of his inauguration as the 43rd President of the United States, we'll revisit the triumphs, the tribulations, and the tragedy. George W. Bush, A Year in the White House, begins just after this news break. Judith Regan tonight will return at this time next week.
Fox News Live, I'm Kiran Chetri. The world's most wanted man is likely still alive, according to U.S. intelligence sources. They tell Fox News they have information to suggest that bin Laden has not died. That contradicts statements from Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf earlier this week, saying bin Laden may have died from kidney failure. Those sources say that it's believed the terror mastermind is in Afghanistan or near the country's border with Pakistan. And Afghanistan's prime minister makes his first trip abroad since taking office. Hamid Karzai met with Saudi Arabia's leaders Saturday, including King Fahd and Crown Prince Abdullah. Saudi Arabia is now asking for custody of any of its nationals in Afghanistan, saying it will punish those with links to Osama bin Laden. No comment from Washington after Chinese officials say they found dozens of listening devices in their president's new plane. Reports say that Chinese authorities discovered the bugs during a test flight. The Washington Post is quoting sources as saying that U.S. intelligence put the devices there while the plane was being fitted in the U.S. Well, those shredded Enron documents may not be gone for good. The company's former accountants have reportedly recovered thousands of documents, electronic ones. The Times of London is saying Arthur Andersen found backup copies of emails and records that were previously thought destroyed. Enron, the former energy giant, fired Andersen earlier this week. And finally, snow going across many parts of the East Coast. By the time people wake up, there could be a half foot in many places. The Beltway is getting its share of wet weather. Several inches of snow are expected in the area, but temperatures higher temperatures and sun are expected for the days ahead, and that could melt any of that snow quickly. That is our update. We'll be back again at the bottom of the hour. Now stay tuned for a Fox News special, George Bush, a year in the White House.
Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm John Scott. In this hour, a look back at 2001, and in particular, the president, a man who came into office without a clear mandate. Who can forget the 36 days the country waited? But as recent poll results will tell you, George W. Bush has made the office his own, and many believe one moment made that happen.
The President of the United States.
Clearly, the defining moment of the Bush presidency to date has been the September 20th speech.
In a speech that was worthy of Franklin Delano Roosevelt or Ronald Reagan, he outlined what was at stake, what we would do, and I think really rose to being leader of the free world and President of the United States in the deepest, fullest sense.
Tonight we are a country awakened to danger and called to defend freedom. Our grief has turned to anger, and anger to resolution.
It was a defining moment for President Bush. It was a defining moment for this country.
The United States respects the people of Afghanistan. After all, we are currently its largest source of humanitarian aid, but we condemn the Taliban regime.
I think he did a remarkable job in setting the right tone for how he was going to confront the terrorism and how we were going to unite the nation in dealing with terrorism.
Give the United States full access to terrorist training camps so we can make sure they are no longer operating. These demands are not open to negotiation or discussion.
He seemed to be inhabiting a different kind of body, almost. What happened to the bumbling person whose syntax was often improper, the person who looked like he was uncomfortable speaking in public? Suddenly, he was different.
The Taliban must act, and act immediately. They will hand over the terrorists, where they will share in their fate. Our war on terror begins with Al-Qaeda, but it does not end there. It will not end until every terrorist group of global reach has been found, stopped, and defeated.
Bush not only knocked it over the fence, but he hit it way out into the parking lot, and I think it will go down as one of the great speeches in that chamber.
The terrorists are traitors to their own faith, trying in effect to hijack Islam itself. The enemy of America is not our many Muslim friends. It is not our many Arab friends. Our enemy is a radical network of terrorists and every government that supports them.
It helped people to understand that this was a war against terrorism. It wasn't a war against Islam.
By sacrificing human life to serve their radical visions, by abandoning every value except the will to power, they follow in the path of fascism, Nazism, and totalitarianism. And they will follow that path all the way to where it ends, in history's unmarked grave of discarded lies.
That was a speech that really introduced them to the American people as their president, as their legitimate president.
We will direct every resource at our command, every means of diplomacy, every tool of intelligence, every instrument of law enforcement, every financial influence, and every necessary weapon of war, to the disruption and to the defeat of the global terror network. Every nation in every region now has a decision to make. Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
He clearly was comfortable with himself in taking on this extraordinary challenge.
Our nation, this generation, will lift a dark threat of violence from our people and our future. We will rally the world to this cause by our efforts, by our courage. We will not tire, we will not falter, and we will not fail.
That speech ran just over 30 minutes, and it seemed the whole world stopped to watch, even at a New York hockey game. Otherwise rabid sports fans forced the game to stop so they could watch the president. Coming up,
George Walker Bush.
we take you back to the beginning of the presidency and review the early days of the administration.
I am certainly testament to they didn't give him a free ride.
If you suffer from heartburn caused by acid reflux, get Gaviscon. Gaviscon tablets become smooth and creamy, forming a soothing protective barrier that helps keep acid down. Gaviscon, relief from acid reflux without a prescription.
The nation's critics voted West Wing the second best show on television. That's because they voted 24 the best show of all. Find out why. Catch an original episode of 24, Fox Tuesday.
Breast cancer does happen to young women. At the Young Survival Coalition, we're fighting to save women's lives through awareness, advocacy, and action. For more information about our efforts and how you can help, check our website, www.youngsurvival.org.
Felix, this TV remote isn't working.
That's no remote control, Oscar. It's a blood glucose meter for people with diabetes. Murray must have left it here last night after the game.
What's it do?
Murray checks his blood sugar level with this. And to stay healthy, he uses the results to adjust his medication, exercise, and even what he eats.
That reminds me of breakfast.
If you have diabetes, learn to test and control your blood sugar.
This Sunday at 9 p.m. Are they here? The hunt for more al-Qaeda terrorists intensifies. Are we at risk? Then at 10 p.m. on Foxwire, Osama is still MIA. While the search widens, have our chances for capture grown smaller? Plus the Enron mess. Should Congress be cleaning it up? This weekend, stay with the Fox News Channel. Sunday, imprisonment, cruelty, torture, a disturbing and shocking first-hand report from behind enemy lines. This weekend on Fox Magazine with Lori Dew.
The election was November 7th. We didn't know who'd be president until December 12th. And in between, we learned all about hanging and dimpled chads. It was, needless to say, a long, strange trip to the inauguration of George W. Bush.
I'm going to take a lot of Midland and a lot of Texas with me up there. My many friendships will keep me strong and keep me humble.
More than 15,000 Texans turned out in the cold to say goodbye and good luck.
And I promise that my administration will never forget the dignity and duty the White House represents to millions of Americans.
The Bushes and the Cheneys then headed off to Washington, the Florida recount still weighing heavily on everyone.
Most everyone accepted that he was president, but there was that feeling in the Congress and the country that he still was not a legitimate president. So it was not a good start.
We had to move beyond the Florida vote. Now, admittedly, there were a lot of people that were obviously angry about the result. They were angry about the court having made that decision.
This is a wonderful country about getting over it. And this is a country where when power shifts, it really does shift decisively.
And welcome to the inaugural celebration for the 43rd President of the United States, George W. Bush.
A star-studded opening ceremony kicked off the inaugural festivities.
Got a dream to take them there. Coming to America.
Yesterday, he said farewell to his home state of Texas. Let us now welcome him to Washington as the next President of the United States.
My administration will serve all Americans, and this inaugural is for all Americans to enjoy.
On a bleak and rainy January 20th, everyone left the White House together as the official transfer of power was about to take place.
Bye. Thank you. Welcome to the 54th inauguration of the President and Vice President of the United States of America.
The Vice President was the first to be sworn in by Chief Justice William Rehnquist.
I, Richard Bruce Cheney, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
With that, the former Congressman and Defense Secretary became Vice President of the United States.
Stand beside her.
And on that cold, damp January afternoon, the 43rd President of the United States of America took the oath of office.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
I think in that moment, then, all of a sudden it came back to the American process. And here is the president being inaugurated and being celebrated.
Chief Justice Rehnquist, President Carter, President Bush, President Clinton, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens. We will reform Social Security and Medicare, sparing our children from struggles we have the power to prevent. And we will reduce taxes to recover the momentum of our economy.
It was perhaps the most important speech of his career, and the new president seemed ready to take on the challenges that faced the nation.
This work continues. The story goes on. And an angel still rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm. God bless you all, and God bless America.
It was very important for the president to establish in the public's mind his legitimacy, that he was not an accidental president. He was not a president who got there simply because of dimpled chads.
I thought the president's speech was pretty good that day and really did outline where he wanted to go.
Before getting down to the business of governing, the Bushes celebrated that day, hitting 6 inaugural balls. They got back to the White House shortly before midnight. When we come back, the business.
The people of America have been overcharged.
And monkey business.
You'll see I'm using the intransitive plural subjunctive tense.
And later.
The people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
The president meets a challenge.
William Larson, Steve Harrigan, Fox News International.
The creators of That 70s Show return to a different time.
Okay, party, party!
When girls just wanted to have fun.
Can I have a gin and something pink, please?
And boys were more than happy to oblige.
You don't want to be dating a bisexual. Unless you want to wake up some morning, find yourself in bed with 2 ladies.
That 80s Show, series premiere Wednesday on Fox.
Hey, you got one too! Yeah, the connection's great, and it's only $8 a minute.
They were outnumbered,
We all knew that we were going to die.
Outmaneuvered.
They had roughly 120,000 people after us.
And nearly out of hope.
People's fingers and hands and arms and feet just rotting off.
For American soldiers, the fight for the frozen chosen became the bloodiest battle in Korea. It's a story of bravery, courage, and true sacrifice. Hear the chilling accounts behind the forgotten war from the men who can never forget. Join Oliver North for War Stories, a Fox News Channel special.
You're going to save big at our January sale at Interior Motors.
It's the Once in a Blue Moon sale, January 18th and 19th.
The sale's unbelievable because we offer things that you might not have had the chance to see here in the Portland area before.
The Once in a Blue Moon sale for 2 days only.
You're going to save 40 to 60% off on every single item in the store.
The Once in a Blue Moon sale, January 18th and 19th at Interior Motives, Part 217 in Tigard.
In Portland town, where all get wet, it's hard to shop for cars, and yet you can stay as dry can be when searching for a Dodge you see. 'Cause Town & Country has a store where you can look and shop indoors. So come by ones and twos and threes to Wilsonville, where you can see Dodge cars and trucks and so much more at the Town & Country Dodge Indoor Warehouse Store. Town & Country, drive home happy.
For an incoming president, there is no training period. The inauguration ends and it's time to get to work. Every victory makes headlines. So does every defeat, as President Bush soon learned.
The presidency is more than an honor. It is more than an office. It is a charge to keep, and I will give it my all.
George Bush came to Washington as an outsider from Texas with limited political experience, more businessman than politician, and he quickly got to work.
He came into office knowing that he wanted to accomplish some things, that he wanted to, as he said, restore dignity and honor to the office of the presidency.
This administration would be far different from that of his predecessor.
He really does delegate responsibility to people around him, and he expects them to perform.
And so, in choosing his cabinet, Bush was careful to look for people with experience. And perhaps in an effort to heal bitter party divisions over the Florida recount, he even chose one Democrat, Norm Mineta, as transportation secretary.
He said that he was going to be reaching out and creating a unity government. But John Ashcroft, when he was nominated, was anything but a unity type of figure.
So help me God.
His Attorney General nominee went through some grueling Senate hearings.
They suggested he didn't care about children.
Gentlemen.
His original choice for Labor Secretary, Linda Chavez, did have to withdraw her name.
I think the Democrats did give him a certain amount of deference, as most presidents are, in his original picks, although, as I am certainly testament to, they didn't give him a free ride.
But Bush reached out to members of both parties, meeting with them at the White House.
I want to thank the members for coming.
His top priority was a $1.6 trillion tax cut, and he used his first address to Congress as a kickoff.
The growing surplus exists because taxes are too high, and government is charging more than it needs. The people of America have been overcharged, and on their behalf, I'm here asking for a refund.
The House passed his tax bill within a few weeks. The Senate would be a little trickier. But the president wasted no time in getting started on his second priority, education reform.
Some of America's schools need extra help, and President Bush has a plan to make sure that they succeed.
And First Lady Laura Bush, a former teacher, would step into the spotlight.
She has a unique ability to communicate to people, and she did a great job on her feelings and passion about education and literacy.
The new president's speaking style was not always perfect, something he was acutely aware of.
Bush attended the Radio and Television Correspondents Association dinner. He did something that was very politically savvy. He poked fun at himself mercilessly.
Then there is my most famous statement. Rarely is the question asked, is our children learning? But if you read it closely, you'll see I'm using the intransitive plural subjunctive tense. So the word is are correct.
It disarmed his detractors because they no longer had that in their quiver of arrows to shoot at him.
But he would soon be faced with an international crisis when a U.S. surveillance plane collided with a Chinese fighter off the coast of China and made an emergency landing on Hainan Island. Because China did not immediately return the crew or the plane itself, the president spoke out.
I call on the Chinese government to grant this access promptly.
It turned into a confrontation with the Chinese government. That is certainly a time that will test a new president, a new commander-in-chief.
But with a little conciliation, a little negotiation, and a lot of patience, the crew was eventually released.
His guts told him to handle it carefully, and he did, and I think ultimately it paid off. It was a situation where you could have, very easily had a major crisis with China, and that didn't happen.
Still, some of the president's domestic challenges weren't resolved so peacefully.
The perception and energy is that he's rewarding his friends and drilling anywhere, drilling in the wildlife in Alaska, not caring about conservation and fuel efficiency.
In his first 100 days, President Bush has tried to pass an agenda which, if enacted, could roll back the decades of progress that brought us to this point.
He was more conservative than a lot of people had expected, and I think that he was a man of principle and that he was able to really stick to the program.
He did his education thing, which was pretty good as a moderate, but everything else was over to the right of the administration.
When Senator Jim Jeffords, a moderate Republican from Vermont, suddenly announced he was switching parties, the criticism of Bush came to a head.
I can see more and more instances where I will disagree with the president on very fundamental issues.
While some blamed Bush for losing the Senate, others said it wasn't his fault.
I talked to several people at the White House. I really came to the conclusion that this was a very sad occasion when Jim Jeffords decided for his own personal ambitions to abandon 49 friends.
Despite the power shift, the Senate passed Bush's tax cut 62 to 37.
Tax relief is the first achievement produced by the new tone in Washington.
That big tax cut, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with it, was clearly a signal that George W. Bush could get something big done.
The president's trip to Europe in June was his first major outing as leader of the free world. He faced some skepticism there over the administration's plans to go it alone on issues like missile defense.
I think they did not realize how much the Europeans would react when we unilaterally took a position on the Kyoto Treaty on global warming. They did not realize how much resentment there'd be of American unilateralism.
But Mr. Bush had a productive meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
We had a very good dialogue. I was able to get a sense of his soul. He's a man deeply committed to his country and the best interests of his country.
His trip to Europe helped. He's developed a good relationship with Putin that is paying off for U.S. foreign policy.
Bush was settling into the presidency. Some say he was too settled, since he was not one to burn the midnight oil in Washington.
I think he's somebody who doesn't let his responsibilities crush him. I think he goes off to the ranch, goes off to Camp David, and renews himself in a very healthy, intelligent way. But I think he takes his responsibilities very seriously.
He spent the entire month of August at his Texas ranch, the longest presidential vacation in 32 years, but he was still on duty. He reached a decision on one of the most difficult questions he was facing, whether to fund medical research that uses stem cells.
As I thought through this issue, I kept returning to two fundamental questions. First, are these frozen embryos human life and therefore something precious to be protected? And second, if they're going to be destroyed anyway, shouldn't they be used for a greater good?
The conventional wisdom going into that decision was that he was going to anger at least 50% of the American people, no matter which decision he made.
I have concluded that we should allow federal funds to be used for research on these existing stem cell lines, where the life and death decision has already been made.
While it offended some on the right and some on the left, the large center of the American population was willing to accept that as kind of a first step.
By the end of the summer, the Bush team was looking ahead, trying to focus more on these broad social issues.
The idea was that after that August vacation, he was going to come back and focus on values and character issues.
But when we come back, America is attacked. and turns to George W. Bush for leadership.
I knew that when I got all the facts, if we were under attack, there would be hell to pay for attacking America.
And Team Bush builds a coalition.
Very pleased with the response we've been getting from the international community. I think every civilized nation in the world recognizes that this was an assault not just against the United States, but against civilization.
In Italy? Do they bowl in Italy? It's the birthplace of bocce ball, but you're missing the point of the story. A mom-and-pop bowling ball bag manufacturer in Jersey. Jersey is swamped with worldwide demand after their product is featured in an Italian fashion magazine. Why are you laughing? I was thinking of bocce shirts. Let it go. So they ship via FedEx International Services. With time-definite express delivery to over 210 countries, the bags hit the markets. The classic macroeconomic love story. Supply meets demand. I like a nice love story.
They were so young and did so much. But that was more than half a century ago. Now the members of the great generation that won World War II are leaving us. About 1,000 of them every day. And yet there is no national memorial to honor their sacrifice. It is time to say thank you.
Call now and help build the National World War II Memorial on the Mall in Washington, D.C.
Your turn to play bad cop?
No. Good cop and bad cop left for the day. I'm a different kind of cop.
What's a good cop?
What people want is to make it to their cars without getting mugged.
What's a bad cop?
If some cop roughs up some guy.
Too late, G-Man. So you can get some kind of third nat going down there.
It's don't ask, don't tell.
What's justice?
Mackey's not a cop. He's out of Capone with a badge.
TV you'll never forget.
The police!
The Shield, coming this March to FX.
Saturday, shifting loyalties, blurring party lines. D.C. is in an uproar. Morton Fred on the economic plan, plus The Hill, the Attorney General, even the White House. Is the media looking for a scandal? The Enron mess on Fox News Watch. Then, it's the best of the week on the O'Reilly Factor. Could diffusing the India-Pakistan conflict end up backfiring on the U.S.? The Inside Line from special guest Colin Powell on Fox News Sunday. Check your local listing.
Fox News Live, I'm Kiran Chetri. One of the detainees at the U.S. Naval Base in Guantanamo, Cuba, bit a military officer on the arm. Fox's Orlando Salinas has more on that from Camp X-Ray.
It took 5 days for a prisoner at Camp X-Ray to get mad enough to make the wrong move. We understand that on Wednesday there was a problem between one military police officer and one prisoner. So far, 110 detainees. That's what our military is calling these al-Qaeda and Taliban men sitting in chain link cages at X-Ray. We're also learning that soon X-Ray could be home to at least 6 Algerians. These Algerian men have not been linked publicly to al-Qaeda or Taliban, but they were arrested by Bosnian authorities for allegedly having some sort of ties to terrorism. After processing in Kandahar, those Algerians could be on their way to X-Ray. They'll join the other prisoners in those 8x8 cells and sleep on those $6.80 foam bedrolls. Now, some people say that's inhumane to sleep on that, but those bedrolls are exactly what our military sleep on out in the field. We've heard from different groups talking about tough conditions for the prisoners, but what about our own military men and women? They're also sleeping out in the field, inside tents, under the sun, open air, dirt and grass. And just in case you didn't know, our military men and women inside Camp X-Ray, working just inches away from those prisoners, are not allowed to carry any sidearms, no M16s, but just inches away outside Camp X-Ray, outside those chain link fences and razor wire, are sailors, soldiers, and Marines who say they are ready for just about anything. In Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, Orlando Salinas, Fox News.
And Fox News has learned Taliban fighter John Walker could soon be back in the States. We're told he'll be held at a federal prison in Alexandria, Virginia, until his civilian trial. That is our update for now. We'll be back again at the top of the hour. The Fox News special, George Bush, A Year in the White House, continues next, right here on the Fox News Channel.
Welcome back. I'm John Scott. We're looking at the first year of the Bush presidency. It was a beautiful Indian summer day. The president was in a Florida elementary school, and then the world changed. Here's Rick Fulbaum.
We will all always remember where we were when we heard America was under attack, even President Bush.
I was sitting in the classroom, and Andy Card, my chief of staff, who was sitting over here, walked in and said, "A second plane has hit the tower. America's under attack." And I started thinking hard in that very brief period of time about what it meant to be under attack. I knew that when I got all the facts, if we were under attack, there would be hell to pay for attacking America.
The moment he heard when he was in that classroom, that began to really give clarity and definition and a real sense of purpose to George Bush. And from that moment on, he's grown unlike any leader I've seen grow.
The president made a brief statement before being whisked away by the Secret Service.
Today, we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country. Terrorism against our nation will not stand.
The Pentagon was hit and the White House was threatened. Air Force One stayed in the air, the Secret Service fearing for the president's safety. The president stayed in constant communication from Air Force One to the vice president and cabinet members who were in a secured location in the White House.
Watching the people in the room, call the president, take direction from the president. Everyone was so amazingly calm and professional. At the same time that everyone was aghast at what had happened. It was very reassuring.
Another plane down in Pennsylvania. Heroes likely stopped another attack. Air Force One stops in Louisiana, then on to Nebraska.
Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward, and freedom will be defended. Make no mistake, the United States will hunt down and punish those responsible for these cowardly acts.
At 7 p.m., he was back in Washington, addressing the nation. The White House now secure. The president reassured a still terrified nation.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
Day 2 after the attacks, his resolve was clear.
The deliberate and deadly attacks which were carried out yesterday against our country were more than acts of terror. They were acts of war.
We can only say for those of us who watched it from home, hoping that the president and our national leaders would deliver some decisions in a tone that would provide some comfort, that in fact he not only matched our expectations, he exceeded them.
The president and First Lady toured the Pentagon damage.
They described the horror of the incident in the moment. They talked about escaping, going through fire, and crawling through debris.
And a phone call to New York, where thousands were feared dead.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Yes, I can't tell you how sad I am and America is for the people of New York City and the tri-state area. I want to let you know there's a quiet anger in America that really is real.
The nation still raw, and the president called for a day of prayer.
We have seen the images of fire and ashes and bent steel. Now come the names, the list of casualties we are only beginning to read. They are the names of men and women who began their day at a desk or in an airport, busy with life. They are the names of people who faced death and in their last moments called home to say, "Be brave, and I love you."
And then it was on to New York. Many on the White House staff discouraged the president from going, fearing for his safety, but Bush pressed on.
I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
I think you could tell in the following 2 or 3 days He was really personally moved as a father, as a husband, as a son, thinking about people, not numbers, not statistics, but the people and the families that were involved.
And in those early days after September 11th, the country came together, looking to a president we hadn't been so sure of, but we now trusted and needed.
It not only changed every one of us in the world, it changed the Bush presidency, and he famously said at the time, "This is the defining element of my presidency. I am not going to be a wartime presidency. That's what my legacy will be." So he understood that he was being changed and that his administration was being changed. And it was no longer about his agenda. It was about this national, even global agenda that had to be satisfied.
It was a day like no other, a day the president stepped up and took command.
None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world. Thank you. Good night, and God bless America.
I don't think any of us will ever forget that day. When we come back, the war cry goes out around the globe and the world responds.
I give you, on behalf of our country, our solidarity, our sympathy, and our support.
Then, Bush becomes a wartime president. How he's done as commander-in-chief.
Besides, I get airline miles. With your business card? Huh.
What is your credit card doing for your small business?
You earn miles on everything you buy? Yeah, from supplies to travel expenses.
The Citi Platinum Select Advantage Business Card. Call now and you could get 1 mile for every $1 you spend. Miles that may never expire. Plus 10,000 bonus miles.
I use my miles for car rentals, hotels, on over 25 top airlines, even a well-earned vacation.
Plus, get benefits like account summaries, business discounts, online fraud protection, and more. Call now to request your card.
I'd like the Citi Advantage Business Card and 10,000 bonus miles.
And soon, your miles could take you almost anywhere.
Oh, Paris is great. And flying free? Makes it even better. Smart business decision.
The Citi Advantage Business Card.
Call now to request your card and 10,000 bonus miles.
Fox Tuesday.
You stay out of this or I will hurt you.
Watch the first minute of 24 and you're in.
My wife and daughter are being held hostage. If I do not get myself out of this situation, they will be killed.
Catch the rest of the hour.
He escaped. He's still out there.
And you're hooked.
Open the door! Drive the car.
The thrill ride of the season is just getting started.
I have killed 2 people since midnight, so maybe you should be a little more afraid.
An all-new 24, Fox Tuesday.
He killed my father, he killed my brother, and both my sisters. Pancreatic cancer killed them all. We don't know how or why they got it, but we knew it, and it was already too late. There still isn't any way to detect it early or to treat it effectively. But we do know the cure, research. Just look how far we've come with other diseases.
In the days following the terror attacks, the world looked to America to see how we would respond, wondering what a president who always seemed more interested in domestic policy would do. Here's Eric Shawn.
Education, faith-based initiative, very domestic issues, this and tax cut were all things that were going to define this presidency.
All that changed on September 11th.
The president today has been making a series of phone calls to leaders around the world to rally an international coalition to combat terrorism.
The president and his advisors had to make it clear who the enemy was. To that end, a meeting with Indonesia's President Megawati.
The nation with the most Muslim people in the world. I have made it clear, Madam President, that the war against terrorism is not a war against Muslims.
Saya mendengar dan melihat.
I heard and witnessed and saw what happened, the tragic events in New York and Washington. Immediately issued a statement which strongly condemns these attacks, which were very inhumane.
At the time of the attacks, Secretary of State Colin Powell was in Peru. He immediately returned to Washington to begin the arduous process of coalition building.
I'm very pleased with the response we've been getting from the international community. I think every civilized nation in the world recognizes that this was an assault not just against the United States, but against civilization. We should also take note it's not just Americans who lost lives in the World Trade Centers.
In fact, the attacks killed people from more than 80 nations, and the world reacted.
We are naturally prepared to work in complete solidarity with the United States and do everything which is necessary in consultation with them to reach this target, which is the elimination of terrorism.
And I know that America and Britain and all our allies will stand united together in that task. And I give you, on behalf of our country, our solidarity, our sympathy, and our support. Thank you, sir.
England became our strongest ally as Bush, Powell, and National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice met world leaders at home. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld traveled to Central Asia.
And it's one that can be dealt with only by taking the effort to the terrorists and to the countries that harbor them. That being the case, it's going to take the cooperation of nations all across the world.
And that's what you need to do. You need to take your time and decide what your strategy is going to be, and build your coalitions, build your support system.
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. We are joined in this operation by our staunch friend, Great Britain. Other close friends, including Canada, Australia, Germany, and France, have pledged forces as the operation unfolds.
Shortly after the airstrikes began, the Secretary of State traveled to the war-torn region.
My colleagues here pointed out correctly that the problem of terrorism is not limited to Afghanistan, and I assured them that our efforts are directed against all terrorism.
On October 22nd, President Bush took his own advice and got on with life, making a previously planned trip to China for an economic summit.
And I'm most appreciative of the support we received. It was strong, it was steady, and it's real.
While the members of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum denounced terrorism, the members, mostly from Pacific Rim nations, fell short of supporting the war in Afghanistan. In the days before the delayed opening of the United Nations General Assembly, Bush held meetings with Russian President Putin, inviting him to Crawford, where they talked about the war and the ABM Treaty. And while the two leaders ultimately didn't agree, they were willing to continue working together.
I want to show him some of my favorite spots on the ranch.
Well, I think everybody has to be a little surprised by how much he and Putin seem to genuinely get along with each other. I mean, you couldn't have automatically said that the ex-KGB leader in Russia would be a natural fit in Crawford, Texas at the ranch. But it's quite clear that they really like each other. And I think that's good for the future of the country.
Bush also used his November 10th address before the UN to remind the world that the war was far from over.
Every nation has a stake in this cause. As we meet, the terrorists are planning more murder, perhaps in my country, or perhaps in yours.
America has
and Secretary of State Powell made headlines when, in an address at the University of Louisville, he talked about the problems in Israel, his message, peace.
America has a positive vision for the region, a vision that we want to share with our friends in Israel and in the Arab world. We have a vision of a region where Israelis and Arabs can live together in peace, security, and dignity.
But 2 weeks after that speech, Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon had to cut short a visit to the U.S. when a suicide bomber in Jerusalem killed 26 people. But overall, the work that the president has put into form strong alliances has paid off. France, Britain, and Germany have offered their troops, and at least 5 other nations have pledged to support the fight. A fight that will most likely not end in Afghanistan.
This particular battlefront will last as long as it takes to bring al-Qaeda to justice. It may happen tomorrow. It may happen a month from now. It may take a year or two, but we will prevail.
When we come back, the Commander-in-Chief leads our military into war.
Hi, Pam Paulette at City Liquidators Furniture Warehouse, where our selection is huge, just like our inventory. Try a solid pine bedroom group, all 7 pieces, $9.99, or just buy the bed at $2.99. What about a kitchen island for $149? Or this kitchen storage clock at $2.99? How about a chop block, only $99? Or this 5-piece dining room for $5.99? Or a solid maple shaker bed, $4.99. City Liquidators, family owned since 1977.
Ready for an experience that's out of this world? Come into Tony Roma's. Our reputation spans the globe, and we're famous for doing whatever it takes to satisfy your craving for the true flavor of the grill. Like the new Ultimate Roma Feast. Flame grilled ribs, barbecue chicken, smoked sausage, corn on the cob, and coleslaw. All at a special price right now.
Whatever it takes to make it great.
Well, Mr. Limbaugh, what has our little agitator been up to this week? Gluing Mrs. Brendel to her chair? Bringing in your sister's underpants for show and tell? Science project took out East Wing? Do you know where smart Alex like you end up?
On the radio?
Rush Limbaugh has moved to News Talk 620 KTLK. News Talk for the Great Northwest.
Webster says hi.
An airplane crew detained in China to bomb or not to bomb on Vieques, and the promised overhaul of the military. These and other challenges for America's Commander-in-Chief all moved to the back burner after September 11th. Here's Catherine Herridge.
A commander-in-chief sends America's sons and daughters into a battle in a foreign land only after the greatest care and a lot of prayer.
With the October 7th announcement of air raids over Afghanistan, George W. Bush became a wartime president, commander-in-chief of armed services in combat. It is a job that some worried he was not ready for.
January the 20th through September 11th, one could see instances that he was not as well prepared as other presidents could have been. September the 11th left him no choice. He had to become at least an adequate, and we hope eventually a good commander-in-chief.
He had campaigned on a platform of rebuilding a military he felt had grown weak during the Clinton administration.
In order to make sure we have a military of high morale, it is also important to make sure we have a commander-in-chief who respects the men and women in uniform.
Well, I think he was onto something, because we did need to transform from the way we've been organizing and arming.
And as president, he took his first major trip outside the Beltway to Fort Stewart in Georgia.
You're among the first in the Army to hear me extend hoorah!
With this president, we have seen the same thing as we saw with Reagan. The American soldier, the servicemen and women, they've seen somebody that cares about the service and defense.
But no amount of support for the military could have prepared America for this. And the war the commander-in-chief has led our military into.
Starting on October 7th, the enemy in Afghanistan got the first glimpses of a new American military that cannot and will not be evaded.
While he is the commander, he is only one man, and he relies on his team.
It's what makes a good leader, being able to surround yourself with competent, dedicated people, and I think the president has done that.
Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld has been here before, serving under President Gerald Ford.
Know that service to our nation is a sacred calling.
In this administration, he's gotten high marks for his dealings with Congress and the military, but he might best be known for his blunt and skillful handling of the press corps.
Yes. Can you give us, or maybe even General Pace, give us any idea of what's happening?
What do you mean, even General Pace? You don't have to take that from him.
One of the key elements, the key responsibilities of the Secretary of Defense is to worry about how we spend taxpayer money to equip our armed forces with what I will call engines of war, whether they're planes or ships, tanks, the like. Don Rumsfeld brought that experience.
The commanders in uniform include a new chairman of the Joint Chiefs. General Richard Myers took his new job just days before the air war began. Commanding the current theater of operation is General Tommy Franks.
I won't say secured, because it certainly isn't.
Considered no nonsense, he has held the post since June of 2000. The players are set. So how does the president interact with his team?
The president really doesn't make what we call strategic and tactical decisions. The military, the Department of Defense, basically has a plan that they work off of, and they develop that plan, and sometimes it's based on the president's guidance. He will say, we need to go to war against terrorism. Just give that order. And then the military develops a plan then to carry that out. That's then presented to the national security team for approval. It's important to know that he does take the advice. The president does take the advice and consent from his team.
Following the attacks, there was tremendous pressure to act. But how?
I think some of the toughest choices he faced in a war in Afghanistan was probably looking at different courses of action that were presented to him.
And in the beginning, many questioned the course of action he ordered. Some felt air power alone could not win the war, that troops were not going in soon enough.
He stuck with the planning of his Secretary of Defense, his Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and his senior commanders, something every president as Commander-in-Chief has to learn. Patience and restraint is perhaps the most difficult of things for presidents.
So I think initially everybody was questioning, is this the same kind of war? Where's this new war? Well, then we saw it.
But Americans are fighting the war on terror on two fronts, Afghanistan and here at home, where the threat of terrorism is still very real. This danger propelled the need for Homeland Defense to the fore. This new war has brought new faces and government agencies to the front lines, from Attorney General John Ashcroft to Health and Human Services Secretary Tommy Thompson.
I, Tom Ridge, do solemnly swear.
The addition of Governor Tom Ridge as Homeland Security Director came less than a month after 9/11.
I think that's helped in terms of trying to bring that message together, although there still remains a question as to how much power Tom Ridge has.
It was a baptism of fire, from new terror warnings to anthrax, critics saying it's a steep learning curve.
I think, for example, in dealing with the anthrax situation, that there were a lot of mixed messages about exactly what was the nature of that threat.
Another concept for Americans to consider, military tribunals.
That's perhaps the most controversial side of what's happening right now. I mean, there's a lot of concern about just exactly what steps he's taking. Has he thought them out? What are these tribunals? What's happening with 3,000 people that have been picked up?
Now, every American, from the president on down, has had to come to terms with our new role. We are all wartime citizens.
Our Commander-in-Chief, President George W. Bush.
Americans seem to have responded to Bush and his honest message that this war will not be easy and it will not be short.
He is progressing in the right directions. Whether ultimately he will be proven to be a success is yet to be seen, but there is every indication that he is doing the things a wartime president needs to do, and that's good for our nation.
That's our look at this first year of the second Bush presidency. Keep it right here for all the news you need this season on the network America trusts for fair and balanced news, Fox News Channel. I'm John Scott. Thanks for watching. And from all of us here at Fox News, happy holidays.
Make any resolutions this year?
I'm watching my figure.
Well, watch it get a little bigger, because you need 3 bowls of that to get the vitamin E in total.
There goes lunch.
Here's what you need for the zinc in total.
Ooh, I thought this was good for my diet.
Not if you want Total's calcium.
Can I change my resolution?
Only Total has 100% of 11 vitamins and minerals you need. No other leading cereal comes close.
I'll take the Total. But you are going to help me clean this up, right?
Total Raisin Bran, Total Cornflakes. What are you getting for breakfast?
Set goals, follow through with a plan. It's how you win football games. It's how I've survived heart disease. Over 500,000 Americans die each year of heart disease. Enough people to fill this stadium 7 times. I'm alive today because I follow a game plan which includes a simple cholesterol test. Team up with your doctor to develop a plan that can control your cholesterol and keep you in the game. Call now for a free playbook on cholesterol.